Welcome in to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here with our Week 4 grade release show. Here on this show, we'll be releasing the PFF grades for 10 of the biggest games from this weekend. Also break down what happened in those games, Dalton. And it was another wild week of college football.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Another wild week, but it felt like a day for everybody to make statements, right? There was a lot of teams that you felt like, okay, they've said to the world, we've arrived, or some of them, we're back from last year, right? I think a lot of teams you had playing their first big games of the year. I just think, especially in these conference games now, you saw some real statements made about who the contenders are and who still has a lot of work to do on the team.
Absolutely. So I want to remind you guys right now, all of these stats that we're going to break down for you guys today is available with a PFF Plus subscription, and you can get PFF Plus for 25% off right now when you use the code PFFCFB25, and we're actually in a competition with all the other shows here at PFF, so please use our promo code, so PFFCFB25, to get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. The same data and grades that all 32 NFL teams use, all 136 FBS teams use, most of the FCS uses our data as well. And of course, get access to the best fantasy football tools, the best betting tools, and our 2026 NFL mock draft simulator. Again, go to pff.com and use promo code PFFCFB25 to get 25% off PFF Plus right now. All right, let's get into the first of the big results this weekend. That was number 11 Oklahoma taking down number 22 Auburn 24-17. A game that was a little controversial, Dalton. A lot of controversial calls made in this game, but Oklahoma ultimately ends up on top. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Oklahoma Sooners. Their highest graded player is a guy I'll talk about in just a second. That is safety Peyton Bowen, 89.1 grade for him. Isaiah Satania III, the wide receiver, 78.4. David Stone, the defensive tackle, 74.9. R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher, 73.1. Linebacker Kip Lewis, 72.9. And the current Heisman Trophy favorite, John Mateer, with a 66.8 grade in the win. Let's go over to Auburn with their highest graded players in the loss. Jaquez Robinson, 77.4. Xavier Atkins, the linebacker, 74.4. Robert Woodyard Jr., 72.8. The linebacker. Defensive tackle Bobby Jamison Travis, 70.7. Kayan Lee, the cornerback, 70.4. And former Oklahoma quarterback in his return to Norman, Jackson Arnold, with a 58 grade in the loss. Dalton, for you, what told the story in this Oklahoma victory?
So Arnold's going to get a lot of the blame here, right? And obviously taking a lot of sacks and couldn't quite come through to tie the game when Auburn had a chance. But to me, this game never should have been, and this offense isn't designed to be on Arnold's shoulders as much as it was yesterday. The stat for me is Auburn only ran the ball by design 26% of the time. You take out sacks and the official nonsense counting that they do with carries and rushing yards with sacks and all that. They ran the ball 26% of the time. Hugh Freeze felt like it wasn't working early, and he basically completely abandoned it to try to get Jackson Arnold and Cam Coleman to win this ball game. And the Auburn is not designed. They're not going to win games like that with Arnold trying to carry them. They're a balanced football team. They want to run the ball first and have Arnold play complementary football with these receivers. That just never happened in this game. 18 design carries for 94 yards, which is a little over 5 yards a carry. That's pretty good, but they only had 4 yards before contact. The offensive line was getting beat. 48.8 run blocking grade for Auburn in this game. The first 3 weeks, they were just about top 20 in the country in run blocking grade. They just could not get the engine running in this offense, and it's not an offense, even with a better quarterback this year in Arnold than they've had the last couple of years. They're not designed to just drop back and throw the football. Brent Venables did a great job of making them beat him left-handed. Wasn't going to happen. If you have to just drop back, straight back, and throw the football against this Brent Venables Oklahoma defense, you're going to be in big trouble, and that's where Auburn got to. It's not the fact that they weren't efficient when they did run the ball. It's that there wasn't anything between the tackles. The offensive line did not have their best day, and they really couldn't get into all their play action and option concepts with it.
Oklahoma's front seven dominated in run defense, and man, oh man, they dominated as pass rushers too. Oklahoma had a program record 10 sacks in this ball game. Mentioned in the preview how Jackson Arnold handles the pressure both literally and figuratively, in this game from his former head coach and Brent Venables will determine who wins or loses this game, and it really did because he had a 44 passing grade under pressure. Dalton, how about this? He was under pressure 14 times in this game. He only got 2 pass attempts off, really, in this one too. So Jackson Arnold was just under pressure all the time, could not get the ball out of his hands. His average time to throw was 3.06 seconds. Actually, currently right now, the Auburn has an 80.6 pass blocking grade. So it wasn't great. There was some times, obviously, where he was pressured immediately. But most of those sacks, I believe 6 of the 10 sacks that we charted for Jackson Arnold were actually charted as him holding onto the football too long, which is 1, his fault, and 2, the receivers were not getting open at all against that Oklahoma secondary either. A lot of coverage sacks in this game too, but a program record 10 sacks for Oklahoma in this one. That's what ultimately I think really stalled out this Auburn offense.
I think that's a big thing to note there is that the coverage was just outstanding, right? There was so many plays where, yes, Arnold had 3 and 4 seconds to stand back there and scan the field, and the more he scanned the field, the less anybody was open. I mean, Oklahoma, from front to back, Oklahoma's defense really did dominate the majority of this game as Brent Venables would want it. And look, that was the case a couple weeks ago against Michigan too. Right now, look, all the flashes on John Mateer as the Heisman betting favorite and what this offense could be with Deion Burks and some other guys, but it's really Brent Venables and his defense carrying the show. They've won their 2 big games this year, scoring only 24 points. That's good enough to get the job done. It certainly was on this day, but on all 3 levels of their defense, Oklahoma was fantastic in this game.
I'll actually take my most impressive right here because one of those coverage defenders is Peyton Bowen. He had an 89.4 PFF grade, 89.7 coverage grade. He had a forced incompletion and a dropped interception too. Also 3 run defense stops and 2 tackles for loss or no gain. A few years ago, he was the number 2 safety coming out of high school. The only one above him was Caleb Downs in that 2023 class. He was a 5-star recruit, a top 15 player in the country in that 2023 class, and he's had a really good career so far at Oklahoma. He is an underrated player, I think, right now. He could even declare for this year's draft in 2026. Peyton Bowen is a star. He's a very, very versatile player for Oklahoma. Could play in the slot for that defense, could play back at safety too, and he was the best player on the field, in my opinion, in this Auburn-Oklahoma game.
Absolutely, and a safety like that allows Brent Venables to use all those exotic looks that he has in the arsenal, right? Rotating those safeties, sending all those blitz packages, the simulated pressures, dropping one side and sending the other. I mean, it just allows you, we've talked about this with Ohio State and with Caleb Downs, what those guys at safety allow you to do when you have elite players that can do everything on the field. It's an immense value to a coaching staff, to a defensive coordinator.
Who impressed you the most in this Sooners win?
All right, it's going to come with a small amount of controversy, but the receiver Isaiah Satania, right? Deion Burks did not have a huge day. Jaron Kanek did not have a huge day as a receiver. Satania has been their best receiver over the past 2 weeks. Now, there's obviously the controversy that comes with the touchdown that even the SEC said should not have been a touchdown, with Satania pretending to sub out and then not, and then they got basically a free shot downfield. But he also made 8 other catches in this game, especially a huge one late on a go ball that was just a fantastic catch down the sideline that set up John Mateer's game-winning touchdown run. 9 catches in total for 127 yards. Again, the touchdown is going to be a point of contention throughout, maybe the rest of the season for Auburn, depending on how things go. But an 82.6 receiving grade in this game. 2 of his 3 highest receiving grades in his career have come in the past 2 weeks. We've questioned a little bit in the past what Oklahoma has beyond Deion Burks. Jaron Kanek, the tight end, has emerged, and now if Satania is going to emerge as a second wide receiver threat, this offense is going to get a lot more balance, and they need to be, because they're still not running the football well. It's funny because to me, I thought the team that was going to run the ball better in this game would win the game. On paper, that was Auburn, but it really ended up just being neither that ran the ball well, and Auburn didn't run the football enough to dominate that battle. But if this season for Oklahoma is going to come down to John Mateer's arm in the passing game, maybe they actually have 3 legitimate receiving threats now, instead of just maybe the one that we thought they were starting the season with.
I was really impressed by Satania in this game, too. Obviously, that controversial touchdown. I also don't...
he sold it well, clearly.
He did sell it.
He did something right there, too.
Yeah, I forgot that was illegal. I think it was legal at some point, right? And then all of a sudden
That's within the last couple of years. years. I think that they've gotten rid of that.
So I think that we should talk about that just for a second, because I think one of the biggest storylines from this game is a lot of the controversial calls that seem to have gone in Oklahoma's favor in this one. What were your ultimate takeaways from the officiating in this game?
I mean, look, the SEC came out and said that touchdown shouldn't have been a thing. So that's already one admitted. There was the one that sticks out to me is the pass or what should have been a pass interference on the deep ball to Cam Coleman down the middle of the field. I mean, he basically got tackled.
Fumble recovery for a touchdown, they called it complete.
That is a more of a general one, and it feels like we're going to do this. It's 2025, and we don't know what a catch is. Yeah. We don't know. And honestly, maybe it was
close enough.
Maybe they got it right. Maybe they didn't. I mean, it's a game if you're looking at it as an Auburn fan, or it's a play, I should say, you're looking at as an Auburn fan. You're going, I mean, the optics of it, and of course, it always gets worse because, and they should do this. The refs have to hold the whistle. So to let a play out like that, and then they can go back and review it. But it just feels like, and even the Satania catch in the fourth quarter, they ruled that incomplete at first, and then they decided it was a catch. I mean, we do this every week.
I think it was the right call.
We need some sort of. I know there's enough committees in college football. We need NFL too. We need some sort of committee to just go. Okay, here's the define. We need a Supreme Court of catches. That's what we need. Somebody who can just lay down the law and decide what a catch is in football.
Just put Des Bryant in charge of it and just whatever he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, there was even I think there was even one in the Utah game where it was like they ruled this incomplete, but you go, or is hands under it? Is it moving? What's going on here? I just that's the part that frustrates me on that one is we just NFL and college, we see this every week now. What is a catch? What is the process of a catch? What is surviving it long enough? So no, I mean certainly Auburn fans are not going to feel great about the way this went down with the officiating, but at the end of the day, still a tight game, still some opportunities to win it, still another opportunity to tie it on the last drive. Right. And in the trenches, especially to me, they didn't get it done.
Yeah, Oklahoma won this game, obviously. But, yeah, there will be a lot of controversy surrounding the officiating in this one, too. So Oklahoma ultimately ends up on top with a 24-17 victory. And, Dalton, just spoiler alert, for our top 25 later on in the show, they'll be moving up a lot in that top 25. So we'll get to that later on. But Oklahoma, very impressive start to their season so far. Another team that was quite impressive on Saturday was Indiana, who absolutely destroyed Illinois on Saturday night, 63-10, the final score. Number 19 Indiana handing number 9 Illinois their first loss of the season. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Indiana Hoosiers. Their highest graded player was a guy who was a top 5 receiver for us entering the year, Elijah Surratt, 84.4. Mario Landino, the D tackle, 83.8. Lewis Moore, the safety, 80.7. Tyreek Tucker, the D tackle, 79.9. Another wide receiver here, and Omar Cooper Jr., 74.9. And Fernando Mendoza with a very impressive game, 83.2 grade in the victory. Let's go over to Illinois with their highest graded players in the loss. You got linebacker Dylan Rosiek, 84.2 grade. Offensive tackle J.C. Davis, 68.5. Kurt Neal, defensive tackle, 68.3. Torrey Cox Jr., the cornerback, 68.3 as well. Alec Bryant, the edge rusher, 67.7. And Luke Altmaier with only a 41.8 grade in the loss for Illinois. Dawn, what told the story in this just shellacking from Indiana?
You know, obviously the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You can judge this book by its cover. I don't even have an in-depth stat. My stat really is that the score was 63-10. And after the first quarter, this looked like a game that was 63-10. I mean, really, Illinois had one ray of hope all night with the one long touchdown they scored on a blown coverage in the first quarter. Other than that, Indiana made the biggest statement they possibly could have here. I mean, it's just unbelievable how Kurt Cignetti they roll this thing back and everybody questions, okay, this is a fluke. They played a soft schedule. They lost to Ohio State and Notre Dame, who, again, were the two teams playing in the national title game. So if you're ripping that as their only 2 losses, find me somebody else last year who's going to beat Ohio State and or Notre Dame.
And that Indiana-Notre Dame game, first round game, was easily the closest game that we got in the first round.
Right. I mean, and they brought back so much talent, especially on this defense. I mean, you look at this game. This reminded me a lot of remember last year when Indiana was playing Nebraska. and it was built up to be this even game because at the time we thought it was. Indiana hadn't played a great team yet, and Nebraska was kind of rolling a little bit. And it was this 50-50 game, and we didn't know what and then Indiana won 56-7.
Yeah.
This team's a wagon. This is the same type feel. They have announced themselves again as a playoff contender in a very, very loud way. I think the first 3 weeks it kind of was taking them a bit to just get Mendoza, especially in the first game, in the rhythm of this offense. But the quick timing for Mendoza, his ability to run this system. Look, NFL scouts, we can argue about things later on all you want throughout the spring. He was always going to be a great fit in this system because of the quick release and the RPOs and the ability of Mike Shanahan to beat any coverage in front of him with that. And they can run the football well. I mean, they did everything in this game well. 87.2 offensive grade, 84.6 defensive grade. How many superstar plays do we need on defense? I mean, Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, D'Angelo Pons with the block punt and return for a touchdown that just flipped this game, in Indiana's favor early. This team, you want a crazy stat? Last year, Indiana was the highest graded team in the country. Right now, they're the highest graded team in the country. They have an overall team grade of 99.5. They're just really, they are that good. This is not Cinderella. This is not a fluke. Curt Cignetti's an elite coach. They have an elite amount of talent on both sides of the ball on this team. Any day that they pass protect, they're going to do this to teams. That's about the only thing to me. And they brought in a couple of offensive linemen in the transfer portal. I know they talked a lot of the broadcast last night about Pat Coogan, the center that came over from Notre Dame. This team, now you sit here and wonder, you go, they're going to mess around and beat Oregon? They're going to mess around and beat Penn State? They're going to mess around and go to the Big Ten title game and maybe give themselves a shot to win it? Because we never felt like that last year, right? They were winning all these games, and it was a softer schedule. This right here against Illinois, and you may not believe they're the 9th best team in the country, and they're probably not, right? But that's still the 9th ranked team in the country. They just beat 63-10.
Yeah. And
they beat them in all 3 phases like they were just one of these other teams on their schedule, like they were Indiana State or somebody. Indiana's here to stay. As long as Curt Cignetti's there, they're here to stay. They're a playoff contender.
I love this comment from Vandy Dandy in the chat. By the way, Vanderbilt, big win for the Commodores as well.
Another one.
This past
They're
weekend.
on fire.
They're on fire. But he goes, teams that didn't get their flowers preseason are forcibly taking them right now.
Yes.
Indiana is forcibly taking their flowers right now, and deservingly so, because you're right. That's a great comparison to the Nebraska game last year, because I remember last year on this show, we were like, okay, Indiana is rolling teams right now, but they played nobody. This Nebraska game is their first true test. Dalton, they killed them. They killed them in that game. Same thing this year. And we both picked Illinois, hand up. We both picked Illinois to win this game, so we were dead wrong about it, but you and I are both like, hey, this is the first real game for Indiana. What do they look like? And they came out and once again shellacked Illinois in this one too. I'm so impressed. I love your stat is just literally the score of the game.
I tried to find one that explains it, and there isn't just one. When you beat a team this badly in all 3 phases, Curt Cignetti and I'm sure knowing who Curt Cignetti is, he's going to find the 3 or 4 errors they made in this game and go, guys, if we don't fix these, we're not winning a national title or something like that. And that's the mentality you got to have, right? I mean, he's going to go into this next week against Iowa, at Iowa. It's another big game. So they only got 1 loss on the record. They've got the best offensive line in the country right now. I'll talk about that later. He's not going to take anything for granted here, Curt Cignetti, and this team is not going to take anything for granted. They got a taste of what success is last year, getting into the playoff. They are undoubtedly, if they don't make the playoff, they're undoubtedly right now one of at least the 15 best teams in the country, if not better.
Yeah, I have them in top 15. We'll get to that later on in the show. But Indiana, my stat is the EPA per play difference. Indiana, 0.482 EPA per play. Illinois, negative 0.432 EPA per play. Indiana had 586 yards of total offense. Illinois, 161. 88.2 offensive grade for Indiana. 53.1 for Illinois. 84.2 defensive grade for Indiana. 59.3 defensive grade for Illinois. This, by all accounts, was a good old-fashioned ass-whooping by Indiana over Illinois. Illinois was outplayed and outcoached by leaps and bounds in this game. And Dalton, I want to get into 2 guys right now that we both have as the most impressive, Mike Shanahan and Fernando Mendoza, because in my preview, I had the Indiana offense in the preview, and I said, okay, Mendoza against an aggressive defense in Illinois with man coverage, a ton of man coverage, and the highest blitz rate in the country, how is he going to handle that? And I thought he and Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, a perfect game plan by Mike Shanahan and a perfect execution of that game plan by Fernando Mendoza, just getting rid of the football quickly. His average time to throw was 2.25 seconds, and just a lot of man coverage beaters. They knew exactly the type of defense they were going against in this game, and they had the perfect game plan to beat them.
A masterclass from Shanahan. It really was. Makes you think of another Mike Shanahan, doesn't it? But, I mean, you really look at what this offense is and the marriage between Mendoza and Shanahan. He is already as much in lockstep with Shanahan as Curtis Rourke was last year, maybe even more so because Mendoza's got a quicker release and he's a little more athletic than Rourke is. And you look at Mendoza, when it's the RPO game, when it's a certain design touch that's supposed to go to a certain place, or there was man beaters underneath the line of scrimmage, especially that were working all night because Illinois is coming out in that base cover one about 80% of the time. I just think Mendoza now has control of this offense. Again, we can debate the draft stuff later. I really don't care at the moment. This is the college football show. 21-23. 267, 5 touchdowns, and only one big-time throw, right?
Yep.
I talked a lot about how the intermediate throws were actually going to be the best part of Mendoza's game in this offense. The RPOs, the play action, and you mentioned it. Average time to throw, 2.25 seconds. If there's anything that Fernando Mendoza is, he is decisive. And in this offense, you need to be decisive because so much of it is about timing, is about that quick release, is about controlling things with the RPO game. Mendoza was fantastic. Shanahan was fantastic as a play caller. This offense is absolutely rolling. And let's not forget the defense. You mentioned 161 total yards for Illinois. 59 of them came on that touchdown in the first quarter, on the only touchdown they scored all night. So the rest of the night, they had 100 yards. I mean, just what Indiana has, the amount of talent they have, and it continues to be underrated talent. This is NFL-type talent on both sides of the ball. This team's an absolute problem for anybody they play, even the elite teams in college football. When they get to play Oregon and when they get to play Penn State, now that we've seen this, they've absolutely got chances to win those games, even on the road.
They absolutely do. Yeah, I thought it was a great game plan by the defense, too, just getting after Luke Allmeyer. They had him under pressure all game. And honestly, this is another game, too, where Indiana doesn't really blitz quarterbacks that much. They play a ton of zone coverage. I think one of the highest, if not the highest, zone coverage rate in college football, and they had no answers offensively. Illinois did to beat them too. So the defensive line for Illinois, or Indiana I should say, was outstanding, and they took down Illinois in this one too. And Mike Shanahan, I just was so impressed because I thought it was a matchup that could give Indiana problems, and I was dead wrong about it because of how good Mendoza was of executing the game plan and how good Mike Shanahan's game plan was. He knew exactly the defense was going against, and Illinois, they live by the sword, they die by the sword. That aggressive defense really helps them win a lot of ball games, but in this kind of game too, they don't have any other answers. They're not going to go back to playing a lot of zone coverage or anything like that. Their team is going to play a ton of man coverage and blitz quarterbacks, and if it doesn't work, you get scores like this, and that's why Indiana won this game 63-10. They knew exactly the type of team they were going against, and then the perfect game plan and perfect execution of that game plan to beat a team by 53 points, a top 10 team in the country. So really impressive win by Indiana, and now they're going to move up a lot in the top 25 later on in the show. All right, the final of the ranked games this weekend was arguably the biggest Big 12 game of the year. My preseason Big 12 pick to win, beating Dalton's preseason Big 12 pick, and Texas Tech beating Utah 34-10, number 17 Texas Tech over number 16 Utah. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Highest graded player was actually the highest graded player was the quarterback, Will Hammond, 96.6. We'll get to him later on because he was outstanding. But Jacob Rodriguez, who Dalton, you'll talk about later, the linebacker, 81.8. A.J. Holmes Jr., the D-tackle, 80.6. Bryce Pollock, the cornerback, 79.8. Cameron Dickey, the running back, 78.8. And Jacoby Williams, another running back, 77.1. Let's go over to Utah with their highest grade players in the loss. Their highest grade player was Jonathan Hall, the linebacker, 73.2. Jonah Leah, the D-tackle, 71.5. Elijah Davis, the corner, 68.8. Dallin Bentley, the tight end, 68.7. Ryan Davis, the wide receiver, 68.5. And Devin Dampier with a 54.1 grade at quarterback in the loss. Dalton, what told the story in this win for Texas Tech? So
I think Utah's offense and eventually their entire team just got basically slowly submitted in this game. Because, despite the final score, we went into the fourth quarter of this game and it was 10-3. right? And then eventually Texas Tech outscored Utah 24-7 in the fourth quarter because honestly Utah's defense was just worn down, and the reason they were worn down is that Utah couldn't create any explosive plays. You look at the explosive plays, Texas Tech had 14 of them, and it was balanced, 7 pass and 7 run. Utah only had 1 explosive play the entire game, 1 pass to Dallin Bentley, their tight end, early in the fourth quarter. They went 3 whole quarters without a single explosive play, run or pass. I mean, they were just getting absolutely nowhere. This Texas Tech defense is for real. This is one of the best defenses in the country all the way around at all 3 levels. They absolutely shut down a Utah offense that in general had been rolling this year, and Utah's got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Now, there's a couple reasons for this to me. Number one, Utah's offensive line. A team that, and this is the matchup you talked about. This was the matchup of the week, their offensive line against Texas Tech's defensive line. Utah's offensive line, as a unit, 58.6 PFF grade. Not many teams are going to win games like that. Utah especially is not going to win games like that. They need Spencer Fano and this offensive line to be the best unit on the field darn near every week. They were not the best unit on the field. Texas Tech had the horses in the trenches to match them. Number 2, downfield passing, right? And we know Utah can run the ball, but if their offensive line's not run blocking well, then they got to be able to throw it downfield because Devin Dampier wants to take big shots. The one big shot they did get early in the game to Jackson Benny got called back because Spencer Fano had the ineligible man downfield penalty, which was the right call. Otherwise, Devin Dampier, 43.8 passing grade on 10-plus yard throws. Will Hammond, 97.9 passing grade on 10-plus yard throws. Again, a lot of that late in the game. Utah's defense was worn down. He made the throws. Utah could not create explosive plays at all. Texas Tech's defense announced themselves to the world. We had a feeling this might happen, maybe, but, with all those transfer guys, you got to get into the big games and see them play together. This was an outstanding game by Texas Tech's defense, and they just absolutely choked out Devin Dampier in this Utah offense.
They really did suffocate Utah in this game. Utah, negative 0.473 EPA per play. That is the worst for Utah in a game since the bowl game against Northwestern in 2023. And a reminder, last year, Utah's offense was 120th in the country in EPA per play with 4 different starting quarterbacks. It was among the 20 worst offenses in college football, and they still did not have a game last year as bad as Utah's offense was yesterday. Utah was negative 0.462 in EPA per run, negative 0.482 in EPA per pass, only 4 yards per play for the Utes. Texas Tech dominated in the trenches, and they had a 75.2 coverage grade behind it too. Utah, like you mentioned, with only a 58.6 offensive line grade. That's their worst since 2023 as well. You just mentioned it, Dalton. If you beat Utah in the trenches, you beat Utah. Utah is a team that's going to want to win through the trenches. If you beat them in the trenches like Texas Tech did, you're going to beat the Utes. Because it's really the only way I think that Utah is going to win ball games right now is just by dominating you with their offensive line and even with their defensive line too. And Texas Tech really played well offensive line and defensive line and showed why they're the current favorite to win the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and they deserve to be right now. And I know TCU's undefeated, and they've looked good also. But I think this right now, you have to say this Texas Tech team is pretty solidly the best team in the Big 12. They proved it. You don't go at Utah winning 34-10.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. That's very rarely a thing. I think only Oregon a couple of years ago was the only other team that did that. I mean, that's just what the effort they put out, and they stayed in the pocket. What I really like with Texas Tech, and I know we were debating this as we were watching the game, like with some of these fourth down calls, and I thought this was a fun game for some of the analytics and fourth down calls for this, right? Where it was you're saying, some of these borderlines, 4th and 3, 4th and 4. Go for it. This is what we do now. It's 2025.
That's the math in me, and you're the coach, as a former coach, and you kind of think.
And I'm sitting here going in a 10-3 game, going, punt it away. Yeah. Make this team go 90 yards because they have not proven they can do it yet. Punt it away. It was an old school approach. Joey McGuire understanding what type of game they were. And Joey McGuire, look, he wants to fly downfield and get in these fast-paced, high-scoring games where they can eventually, score 34 points, but do it a lot quicker than they did. This was a great job of understanding the tempo of the game they were in, understanding how well their defense was playing, and forcing turnovers too. 3 turnovers forced in this game as well. I thought Joey McGuire did a great job coaching it. His coordinators did a great job calling it. The players, everything about this, you could not have drawn up better for Texas Tech and what we project going forward. The only question is involving your most impressive guy here. oh, what are we doing at quarterback all of a sudden? Because Baron Morton, I know he got hurt, but he didn't look great when he was in there. And I'm sure they don't want to do the whole – they're going to do the whole like Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning last year, and we got another situation I'll talk about later. Okay, you don't lose your job to injury. But do you when your new when your backup, when the younger kid is the best player on the field in this game? What do you do? I mean, go ahead with Will Hammond, because now I don't know if it's a controversy. I don't know if they'll just go back to Morton, but it's at least something to watch.
It is absolutely a controversy, I think, right now. I would seriously think about starting this kid, Will Hammond, 96.6 PFF grade, like I mentioned before, 13 for 16 for 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Dalton, he threw 16 passes. He had 4 big-time throws. He had a 25% big-time throw rate in this game. He also ran for 61 yards with 5 broken tackles on the ground, too. He's a redshirt freshman that was put in a really, really tough spot as the backup quarterback against a really good defense in one of the toughest road environments in all of college football. Usually, quarterbacks would crumble under that kind of pressure. Will Hammond shined under that kind of pressure. Led the Red Raiders to 24 points in the second half of this game. They had 10 points at halftime. They scored 24 in the second half with Will Hammond. And Dalton, this guy was the number 11 quarterback coming out of high school in 2024. This guy was seen as the future for Texas Tech. After Baron Morton was done, dare I say, he's the future. I also think he's the present of Texas Tech right now, because if you have a team like Texas Tech that is kicking ass offensive line and defensive line, and a young quarterback who is a really talented player too, and Will Hammond, again, a really highly rated recruit coming out of high school, playing like that against that defense in that stadium, Texas Tech not only is a favorite to win the Big 12, we got to talk about them as a national contender right now if they get quarterback play like that from Will Hammond.
And this is going to be – and Morton was great through their first 3 games against lower competition. But he wasn't spectacular in this game. The 2 interceptions, both of them on pretty inaccurate balls down the field. And I think that, one of the big things that stands out to me with Hammond, he's a better athlete than Morton. Yeah. I think you could immediately see they had a package in for him where he could run the football. Baron Morton's not going to run the football. It's just not – it's not a thing. He's a pocket passer. When he's clean back there, he can make throws. But even yesterday, he wasn't making throws, and the blitzes were getting to him. And the man coverage, the throws weren't precise enough. I think considering the way Morton, and depending on his health, of course, considering the way Morton played in the first 3 games and his experience, they're probably going to go back to him if he's healthy next week.
What would you do? I agree with you. I think they're going to play Baron Morton.
I think a big thing for me, again, Hammond threw the ball. Now he's not going to have a 96 passing grade every week.
No, of course
right?
not. Yeah.
And he's a young kid, right? And that's as high pressure as you can get into and doing it as a starter. But I think the biggest argument for me, for Hammond, is what he actually adds to the run game and the extra dimension. This is an actual read option threat. You saw the quarterback draw and things like that working. He adds one more dimension to the offense than Morton does. And I know Morton's experienced, but we've also seen plenty of Baron Morton. We've seen it. Yes, he will beat the bad teams, and he's done that. There's
a ceiling here with Hammond.
There's a ceiling with Hammond that is different than Morton. Mm-hmm. Morton can get the job done, but he didn't look great, I didn't think, in the time that he played in this game, and Hammond looked spectacular. I think this is going to get to be something of a controversy.
I think they can win the Big 12 with Baron Morton. I think they can win the Big 12 and make a serious run with Will Hammond. That's what I'll say.
That's a good argument. That's a good because you've already beaten a team that we thought may be the next best one. And I mean, let's just take a look at their schedule real quick. You've got Houston next week. They should be better than Houston. Kansas, Arizona State's a big one. Oklahoma State. I mean, they've got a lot of winnable games on this schedule, but they're going to be playing some solid defenses along. Even Houston's got a pretty good defense in week 6 and going on the road. What do you do if you want to add to this run game, I think especially? And if they're equal as passers, if you think they're equal as passers, you play Hammond because he adds to the run game. That's a big thing for me because the athleticism was a clear difference. When they needed answers on the ground, he was a part of the answer.
So we both like Will Hammond as potentially the new starter. I believe Baron Morton will start, but Texas Tech fans, let us know in the comments below what you would do at quarterback right now because it is a fascinating conversation. A good problem to have for Joey McGuire right now, for sure. Peyton Jansen in the chat earlier said Will Hammond will grade ridiculously high, dead on about
sure
that.
Did.
He also said Jacob Rodriguez is the best linebacker in the country. His PFF grade does not lie, and you said you agree with that too. Jacob Rodriguez was a dominant player.
He was Texas Tech's highest graded player other than Hammond in this game. He is currently the highest graded linebacker in the country. I think a 93.9 run defense grade for the country. He is an absolute stud. Listen, I turned to you at the end of the first quarter, and I said, oh, he's the best player on the field. For as great as we've talked about this defensive line and David Bailey and Lee Hunter and all these guys up front all summer, but it's great to have a linebacker that cleans up literally everything and makes huge plays. You look in this game alone, 77.4 run defense grade with 4 stops and the big forced fumble that forced a turnover in the first quarter. 80.2 run defense grade, coverage grade. 5 targets he was in coverage. 1 yard allowed. 1 yard. I believe it was 3 catches for 1 yard allowed, 2 stops, and did you see the one-handed interception at the end of the game? He's one of the best linebackers in the country, if not the best right now. He's the highest graded linebacker in the country. And when you have this defensive line that is occupying an opponent's front 5 as much as because you have to put every resource you can into blocking all these defensive linemen they have, Rodriguez has a free run to the football a lot, and he's making everything happen with it. He's an elite football player right now. He's just spectacular.
I would say right now it's early, but I would say he's the Butkus Award favorite.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Yep. I mean, this defense. And let's shout out the secondary, too.
Oh, incredible.
Bryce Pollock. Look at the turnaround in the secondary from what it was last year.
That held them back last year, and it is a strength this year.
I mean, Bryce Pollock, Cole Wisniewski. I mean, these guys on the back end are making plays in the secondary. This is a 3-layer defense. This is one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
Right? And that defensive line, we're going to talk about another one in a little bit here that's probably the best because they might have the best defensive player in the country. Mm-hmm. You could argue this Texas Tech defensive line, I think, is the second best in the country.
I would argue that. They were the highest graded entering it, but obviously they played a soft schedule so far. But if you dominate an offensive line like Utah, which I thought was and is really one of the best O-lines in the country like that, Texas Tech absolutely has one of the best D-lines in the country. But a really impressive win for the Red Raiders, and they're now the new favorite to win the Big 12 with a 34-10 victory over Utah. All right. Before we get to the rest of these games, we got to talk about one of the sponsors of the show, that is DraftKings, Dalton, and do our DraftKings Heisman update right now. This PFF betting segment is brought to you by DraftKings. Lines and odds are subject to change. So, after Saturday, let's update the Heisman odds from our partners at DraftKings right now. Still the favorite is John Mateer at plus 750. And then after that, Dalton, we actually have Fernando Mendoza at plus 950, the Indiana quarterback after a great game against Illinois. Dante Moore plus 1,100. Joey Aguilar, the Tennessee quarterback, plus 1,400. Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, also plus 1,400. And then you got Gunnar Stockton plus 1,500. Carson Beck plus 1,500. Jeremiah Smith plus 1,500. Garrett Nussmeier plus 1,600. Julian Sain plus 1,600 as well. What stands out to you in this Heisman update right here?
I find it, interesting that Mateer is still the favorite, considering he's not putting up gaudy numbers. He's won 2 big games, and he's had his moments, right, where especially this, running in, he had the big fade ball to Satania at the end, and then he ran in the game-winning touchdown. Mateer has had his moments. He's not putting up crazy gaudy numbers to me, and he's not putting up a crazy gaudy PFF grade, right, and things like so. I think that's more about the story of Oklahoma and what's expected of Mateer more than anything. Mendoza, I think it's hard not to be on board with now, right? You could put up the numbers against the Indiana States of the world and things like that, but you have that type of performance against Illinois, fantastic. And I'm going to give you one guy that is not nearly high enough there, I saw down there, you didn't mention, down there at 50-1. Look at the year Diego Pavia's having at Vandy.
Dude, Diego Pavia Heisman would feed families.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of good players in front of him there. Diego Pavia should be much higher on. He had another spectacular game. I know it's Georgia State, but Vandy actually lost to Georgia State last year, and he was feeling like getting revenge, clearly. What he did to South Carolina last week was spectacular. I'll tell you what, when he's going to move higher on those rankings?
Oh, Bama.
Don't let Vandy beat Bama again.
Yeah.
Don't let him beat Bama again, because that's the guy right there. I just think Diego Pavia is playing spectacular football too. That's a sleeper for me, but I absolutely get it with Mendoza, because you do that to a really darn good and experienced Illinois defense. What, sky's the limit all of a sudden.
He wasn't in the top 5 going into the week, but now he's number 2 right now, and I get it. I completely get it. I think Carson Beck at plus 1,500 is really valuable too. I still think he's one of the favorites to win the award right now. And another one I kind of want to shout out as a dark horse is Bo Perbula at plus 3,500. Not a great game for him against South Carolina, but that Missouri offense is humming along right now. Him, and then I got to see where Ahmad Hardy is too, because he's also...
Oh, he's unreal.
He's plus 6,000. So, I don't know if a running back will win the award this year, but that Missouri offense is electric right now. I don't know if either of them will actually win the award or make it to New York, but they have pretty juicy odds right now. But I still really like Carson Beck at plus 1,500. If I had to make a prediction of who's going to win it at the end of the year, I'm going to predict Carson Beck right now.
I'll tell you one that in 2 weeks everybody's going to be next week is going to be under the microscope for it. Dante Moore has got at least an 80 passing grade in 3 straight weeks.
Yeah.
He got 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. He absolutely shredded Oregon State in the Civil War. This Dante Moore, if he goes into Penn State and finds a way to win that game, you're going to see him shoot up those rankings too, because he looks just fantastic through 4 games. Again, they haven't played a team of their talent level. Oregon State's really struggling this year, but he looks terrific for the Ducks right now, man. Oregon's offense is humming.
He's currently third in odds, like I said before, at plus 1,100, and you're right, Dalton. He could be first if they have a big game against Penn State. Biggest game of the week that we'll talk about later on in the show, obviously, but Dante Moore is playing out of his mind right now. And Oregon, they produced back-to-back Heisman finalists at quarterback in Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel.
Here comes another one.
They might have another one. And Dante Moore, too. Just crazy what Will Stein and that offense is doing, just producing these quarterbacks right now, and just how good those quarterbacks have been in that offense, too. But the rivalries are real, the bands are loud, and the upsets, they're already shaking up the rankings. College football is rolling right now, and there's still time to turn your picks into big payouts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Think you know the game? Prove it every Saturday. From live betting during the game to rivalry week odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff until the final whistle. Whether you're betting on your go-to team or making moves mid-game as the momentum shifts, Saturdays are yours to own with DraftKings Sportsbook. Here's something special for first-timers. New customers bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PFF. That's code PFF for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, next up in our Week 4 review show. By the way, Don, before we get actually to the next game, I actually want to answer a question right now. Someone's asking, how on earth does PFF get all these grades the morning after it takes place? As someone who is a part of that grading process, you want to talk about just how many employees we have doing this and just how it all gets done in such a short window?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere, I want to say around 70 to 80 full-timers. And I kid you not when I say somewhere between 500 and 600 contractors that we bring in as seasonal workers. And many of those have been on it for multiple years, so they know what they're doing, especially because it's not just the grading. It's charting players on the field and positions and even just the baseline stats that go in to the system. We have hundreds of people working. I think this week was probably somewhere around 105 or 110 games because we do FCS now the day of also. Just hundreds and hundreds of people with hands on it. Some guys working 3 games throughout the day. I've done that. I mean, we've got guys that are up, starting at noon and going till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and all the grades have to be in by 7 a.m. Sunday morning after a college Saturday so we can get rolling into NFL Sunday. So again, just the sheer amount of work. I was on that side for 4 years. The sheer amount of work and the number of hands and things that goes into it, hundreds, plural, of guys every single Saturday, and then a bunch of them turn around and do all the NFL games on Sunday, plus the NFL All-22 stuff that gets done by Monday at noon, so we get the NFL grade release going. So, again, I did it for 4 years, and I'm even still amazed at just the sheer amount of work, and they keep adding more and more to it on a live Saturday every year. Just a credit to those guys. But when I tell you we have hundreds of guys on it every Saturday, it's a ridiculous volume and a ridiculous volume of work for basically 18 hours straight.
So D. Coop asking how we have grades for 30 to 50 players for these 10 games. It's not just these 10 games. It's every single game in college football, from the FBS level, the FCS level, and, of course, all the NFL games, too, as well. If you want to join the data team, go to pff.com/jobs. We're probably done hiring for this season, obviously, but for future seasons, if you want to join the PFF team right here is an awesome way to get involved at PFF. pff.com/jobs. Join our data team, because they are quite literally, they're the backbone of this entire company. And, what they do is the Lord's work, man. They work ridiculous hours. They're up at all hours of the night getting these games done. That way we could do the show on Sunday mornings like this. So big shout out to them. And if you want to join the data team, go to pff.com/jobs.
Usually that starts up for that side about March or April, and then the training for it and the trial process for it will start pretty much right after the draft.
Yep. Again, reminder, PFF Plus, you want to get all the grades for every single game in college football, use PFF code PFFCFB25 to get 25% off right now at pff.com. All right, next game. Number 21, Michigan, 30. Nebraska, 27. Let's go over the highest grade players, starting off with the Michigan Wolverines. Highest grade player was their linebacker, Ernest Hausman, 78.4. Edge rusher, Derek Moore, 77.7. Justice Haynes, the running back, 75.1. Jaden Sanders, the cornerback, 74.1. Andrew Sprague, the offensive tackle, 73.1. And Bryce Underwood with a 51.7 grade in the win for Michigan. Let's go over to Nebraska with their highest grade players in the loss. Starting off with defensive tackle, Elijah Judy, 81.1. Ja'Cory Barney Jr., 76. Vincent Shavers Jr., the linebacker, 75.4. Deshaun Singleton, the safety, 68.7. Henry Lutovsky, the guard, 65.7. And Dylan Raiola with a 67.9 grade in the loss for Nebraska. Dalton, for you, what told the story?
All right, so I think this Nebraska team, and I said to win this game that Raiola would have to be their best player. I think the problem is that even though he probably is their best player, it's still not enough to win a game like this. Nebraska's got flaws, and I think you're going to get into another one, but I think one of them is these offensive tackles and the amount that Raiola was under pressure. And then when he wasn't under pressure, he could still feel it. He had a 55.2 clean pocket passing grade in this game. His passing grade under pressure was actually a lot better. I think it was 77 or 78. But the problem is that you could feel that this offense, because they only ran the ball for 92 yards as well. You could feel that this offense was just, hey, Dylan, try to get us through this, man. Just see what you can do. See if you can beat Wink Martindale in a really good Michigan defense. And honestly, he did everything he could have. I really believe. I mean, you're talking about him and Ja'Cory Barney with the Hail Mary at the end of the half. He's making throws downfield. I talked about 10-plus yard throws, Max. In this game, 93.8 passing grade on 10-plus yard throws. And I know there was the interception early really hurt him. That led to a Michigan touchdown. But Raiola's doing everything he can. He was under pressure 49% of the time in this game. He was sacked 7 times. His offensive tackles specifically, they were okay on the interior. Michigan had 5 different edge defenders, 5 with at least 3 pressures in this game. His offensive tackles, 44.8 pass blocking grade. Dylan Raiola, you know what? The joke has been made all too many times, but he basically had to try to Mahomes his way through this one. And he wasn't that far from doing it, but this team needs to help him. Ja'Cory Barney was really good. Where is Dane Key? Where is Naziah Hunter, other than stepping out of the back of the end zone on what should have been a touchdown? Where is the run game? Emmett Johnson's been solid this year and just didn't give us enough in this game. If you're the Cornhuskers, I just think this team, Raiola, actually, I think I learned, it's kind of weird. I think he is good enough to carry them through a lot, but that a lot that he has to carry them through has to be a little bit less, right? Yeah. And it's on both sides of the ball. You're going to get on the other side right now, but he needs a little more help. It's in there. There's actually a superstar in there. There's moments, man. There's certain throws, especially on the move, under pressure. He's strong, shaking off tacklers in the pocket. There's a superstar in there.
He could be an NFL quarterback.
But they need offensive tackles. They need receivers to help him out. And on your end of this, they need to not get mauled on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they could not control the pace of this game. This game really was, and I had a feeling if Nebraska was going to win it, it kind of was going to have to be like this. But to the extent that it worked in Michigan's favor, this game really was Dylan Raiola against Michigan.
Yeah.
The rest of it was not good. Other than Ja'Cory Barney, I'm going to throw, he was fantastic too, obviously, making as many plays as he did, especially the Hail Mary. That's what this came down to me. I think this game became too much of just Raiola versus the entire Michigan program. And look, 9 times out of 10, the entire team is going to win out over one guy.
Yeah. And my matchup going into the preview was, yes, Bryce Underwood is getting all of the love and deservingly so, but can Nebraska slow down the run game for Michigan first? And they could not. Michigan averaged 8.9 yards per carry in this game. The Wolverines ran for 284 yards, 0.321 EPA per run, averaged 5.6 yards after contact per attempt. And it wasn't just one guy either. Justice Haynes had 149 yards on the ground. Jordan Marshall had 80 yards on the ground. Bryce Underwood had 55 yards on the ground. 7 explosive runs total for Michigan in this game. 7 10-plus yard runs in this one. Nebraska's pass defense is actually pretty good. But against Cincinnati and now against Michigan, they have struggled immensely with their run fits and also with tackling right now. This Nebraska run defense is a massive, massive problem for them. And for Michigan, on the other side, same old Michigan, man. They're going to maul you up front with their offensive linemen. They have really good running backs. Now they have a quarterback in Bryce Underwood who's a very good mobile threat too. Michigan, I went into it thinking Michigan had the advantage with their run game, and they had a decided advantage with their run game. And really, that's why they won this football game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I came out of week 1 against Cincinnati believing that if Cincinnati would have just committed to their run game early instead of messing around and trying to have Sorsby win the game with his arm, that Cincinnati would have beat them.
Yeah.
2 games against Power 4 teams. Against Cincinnati, Nebraska, 42.8 run defense grade. Against Michigan, 59.3. And I wouldn't be shocked in the review if it came out worse. You mentioned, you talked about this last night. We were talking about this. The 3 rushing touchdowns for Michigan weren't even touched.
Yeah.
Nobody was even touched. They're not even fitting this thing up right now. And especially a team with a mobile quarterback is giving them problems. I look at certain games right now on Nebraska's schedule, big games we're talking about. At Minnesota, Darius Taylor, A.J. Turner, they're going to run the ball. Penn State, Allen and Singleton. Iowa, maybe the best offensive line in the country, the way they want to run the football. If Nebraska doesn't figure out this run defense, you're playing in the Big Ten. You can't stop the run, you're going to be a mess against a lot more teams than just the top line ones, right? They need to figure this problem out because right now they have a quarterback that's good enough to compete in this conference. They absolutely do. They can't control the pace of the game. They can't get him the football enough. They can't stop anybody on the ground right now. They have to be able to fix this run defense. They have to find some solution for this because this was not the case last year, but they lost some guys to the NFL. They lost some guys to the portal and that front 7. This is an issue. This is a big issue, especially in a Big Ten where a lot of teams do want to run the football and stay balanced.
Definitely. All right. Who was your most impressive player for Michigan in this game?
I'm going to stay on the Michigan pass rush side. Derek Moore was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, of all the great pass rushers there were in this game for Michigan, again, 5 different edge defenders with at least 3 pressures. Derek Moore had 6 of those pressures, 76.6 pass rush grade, 2 sacks, 27% pass rush win rate. When he really got to pin his ears back and it was true pass sets, which there was a lot of them late in this game, Derek Moore was dominant. He just absolutely dominated Nebraska's offensive tackles.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Michigan offensive line. They kicked ass up front with that front 5. Averaged 3.3 rushing yards before contact per attempt. Ball carriers for Michigan were getting 3 yards before they were even touched in this game. They had a touchdown runs of 37 yards, 75 yards, and 54 yards. And Dalton, like you just mentioned right there, on those 3 runs, they maybe got one hand on Justice Haynes on the 75-yard run, which, yes, is credit to Nebraska's run defense not playing well at all and just not fitting it up well, but also Michigan's offensive line kicking ass up front that Nebraska could not even get a hand on the ball carriers on these long touchdown runs too. And also, 83.5 pass blocking grade for Michigan in this game, only 3 pressures allowed on 26 snaps for the Michigan offensive line. Andrew Sprague, Nathan Afobe, and Greg Crippen did not allow a single pressure all game. Michigan has one of the highest rated quarterback recruits ever, but the identity of this team is still with the offensive line and with the run game right now. This is the exact type of situation you want to see for Bryce Hunter, which is not a lot of pressure on him. He didn't play well as a passer at all in this game, but it didn't matter because Michigan's offensive line and their run game was that freaking dominant.
They are not asking him to carry them, and that's the right thing to do, especially considering they're short on receivers, right? Donovan McCulley's been okay. Marlon Klein at tight end's been solid. Samaj Morgan's okay, but this is still a run-first physical football team that wants to win the Michigan way. You mentioned it, same old Michigan. They're not going to ask Bryce to carry them unless they absolutely have to, and even for a kid with that level of talent, it's exactly how it should be.
Absolutely. All right, Michigan beating Nebraska 30-27. Next up is Miami beating Florida.
Oh, boy.
26-7, the final score. Number 4, Miami taking down the Gators. Florida now falls to 1-3 on the season right now. Let's go over to Miami with their highest graded players. No shock here. Highest graded player, maybe the best player in college football the way he's playing right now, Ruben Bain Jr., 93.8 grade in this win for the Hurricanes. His partner in crime, Akeem Mesidor, has also had a great year. Another great game here, 83.3 grade for the edge rusher. Elijah Lofton, the tight end, 80.2. Charmer Brown with the 78.2 grade. Muhammad Tori, the linebacker, 76.7. And Carson Beck with a 57.6 grade in the win for the Miami Hurricanes. Go over to Florida with their highest graded players. Cormani McClain, the former 5-star corner, 84.9. Dijon Johnson, another corner, 81.9. Cameron James, the edge rusher, 70.3. Bryce Thornton, the safety, 70. Kofi Asari, the edge rusher, 68.9. And DJ Lagway with a 58.5 grade in the loss for Florida. Dalton, what told the story in this win for the Hurricanes?
I want to throw one thing out there first, just in case Chris Fowler is out there somewhere wondering. Not only is Ruben Bain the highest graded edge defender in the country, he is the highest graded football player in the country, offense or defense.
Start the Heisman campaign right now.
Honestly. I mean, if
we're talking like a Chase Young
if there
potential.
if there was any defensive player that had a case, it's Ruben Bain. Just unbelievable season he's having. I'm going to start this game. To me, this is one of those games where I just find funny statistics out of it, okay?
Same.
Florida Gators, all right? So they had the one touchdown drive, the first drive of the third quarter, 80 yards on that drive. Looked like they had some life to them, right? It was 13-7. They had a little bit of a pulse. Can I go through the other 10 drives here for the Florida Gators?
Please.
10 drives, 41 plays they ran. Got 61 yards. They had 80 yards on the touchdown drive, 61 yards on their other 10 drives. Negative 0.715 EPA per play, which I don't even know what to say about it. 0 explosive plays outside of the one touchdown drive. And if I take out that drive, the other 10 drives, again, 41 plays. We're running 1.5 yards a play, 1.5 yards a play. A 39 grade on offense as a team. 39. This Florida Gator offense, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. And Miami's one of the best.
The answer is don't play Miami anymore.
The problem is.
But now you got SEC coming up, Texas.
But go back on Florida real quick. They just scored 10 points on LSU. They scored 16 points on USF. And now they scored 7 with legitimately only one functional drive an entire game on Miami. Now you get a bye week, you go play Texas. The Florida Gators, man, and now it's the things that you thought were going to carry them. The offensive line, train wreck now.
I'll get to that in a second,
this was a train wreck in this game. I didn't see going through it real quick again this morning. I didn't see a single positive thing the offensive line did this entire game. DJ Lagway
Jake Slaughter actually played well. That's the only one who played well.
Of course he did, because he's going to be a top 50 pick. DJ Lagway, last week he looked indecisive, right? And he was kind of forcing it. This week he looks scared. And it was from the first drop back of the game. He looked like he watched this Miami team and he was like, I'm not about this.
Yeah.
I'm not. And now these last 2 games, now it's 2 games where I have an extreme level of worry about DJ Lagway. Coming out of the USF game, it wasn't as much. I thought they had a lot of team-wide, especially kind of disciplinary issues, penalty. These last 2 games, I'm at a 12 out of 10 panic level for DJ Lagway because you're seeing his process start to crumble. The footwork is back to where we were last year, where he's just throwing balls off balance. The pressure, you can see how jittery he is in the pocket. In this game, now they're not going to play a D-line as good as Miami every week, but Texas got some horses too. Right? A&M's got some horses. They're going to play some other teams with some good defense. Georgia. I mean, I'm at a 12 out of 10 panic with Lagway. I'm at a 20 out of 10 panic with the Gators because they're already 1-3 anyway. But this offense, the unit that was supposed to be like, okay, if the Gators are going to be a playoff contender, this offense is going to be elite stuff. It's awful.
No, I agree. I will say, to the credit of Florida's offensive line, and I know they're playing Texas and Texas A&M and Georgia, I still think this is a great offensive line. I think right now, and I'll get to it right now, this Miami defensive line is completely unblockable. I don't think there's a single offensive line in college football.
You might be right on that one.
Chance. Yeah. The pass blocking grades in this game: Miami 88.3, Florida maybe a top 5 offensive line in the country, 2.3 pass blocking grade as a team against Miami in this one. I've got bad news for anyone in the ACC and anyone in college football right now. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can block this front four for Miami. This is easily the best defensive line in college football, because I went into this game, and I still think Florida has a really good offensive line. I still think so. Florida entered this game with the 3rd best pass blocking grade in college football, 16th in run blocking grade. Miami made Florida had the worst pass blocking grade in the history of PFF by over 24 points. It's the worst pass blocking grade by a team all season. It's the worst pass blocking grade by a team since 2020, when Kansas had a 0.0 against Oklahoma. Dalton, Miami got a pressure on 79% of dropbacks in this game with a 93% pass rush win rate. This Miami defensive line is the best unit in college football. Not the best D-line in the country. It is the best unit in college football. And if Miami is going to win a national title, which looks more and more likely every single week, they're going to win because of their offensive line and because of their defensive line. And the Hurricanes on offensive line, 5 pressures allowed on 31 dropbacks. The Hurricanes right now, Miami, the most dominant team in America in the trenches, which is why you're seeing Carson Beck, who is so deadly from a clean pocket, why I think he could be the Heisman Trophy winner this year, because Miami's offensive line is giving him those clean pockets, and I mean nobody in America even has a prayer of blocking Miami's defensive line.
I don't know who's going to do it. I mean, I think, to be honest, in the ACC, and this is more about avoiding the passing game and the weirdness that comes with their offense, Florida State and their offense, the way Gus Malzahn runs it, might have the only chance of doing anything on this Miami defense, just because of Malzahn and the schemes and the option looks and everything they do to get out in open space. If they beat Florida State, I don't know who else offensively would stand a chance in the ACC. I don't remember if Miami plays Georgia Tech again. That's another one where you go, okay, they got the weird run schemes and they can try to avoid those guys. But Ruben Bain right now is leading the Power 4 in pressures.
They don't play Georgia Tech, by the way.
Oh, boy. So Florida State's really the only kind of weird option sort of team. I mean, Ruben Bain's leading the Power 4 in pressures. Akeem Mesidor is tied for 4th. They've combined for 41 pressures in 4 games. They combined for 19 in this game.
And the interior is great too.
I mean, the whole thing, but I got to throw Mesidor in there too alongside Bain. This is just ridiculous what they're doing to teams right. And to be honest with you, their offense played like a B- game. They weren't great in this game, and they still were just so clearly the better team on the field with this defense and with the way you mentioned it. They control games in the trenches. I think they've got the best D-line in the country. I'm with you, and I think they probably have a top 5 or 6 offensive line.
Yeah.
They are just so dominant, and you could feel it throughout this game on both sides. When you watch in the trenches, there's people for the Gators moving backwards constantly. Mm-hmm. It was an absolute mess, and they're gonna make every team they play look like this.
What I still think is a really good Florida offensive line. I still think so. And it still have a top 10 pass blocking grade in the country.
And I'll tell you something. Look at the way offensively that Notre Dame has bounced back the last couple weeks. Look at I know it's USF and they're playing whoever. Look at the way USF bounced back this past week.
Yeah.
This is a Miami problem. This is a real. If you're playing Miami, I don't actually know right now for especially these 2 defensive ends. I don't know what the answer is.
We were so, after the Notre Dame game, and we were like, dude, this Notre Dame offensive line is going to be like, yeah, Miami's defensive line is really good, but Notre Dame's offensive line maybe is way worse than we thought. It's just Miami's defensive line is just freaking good. It's just so unbelievably good. Like I said, it's best unit in college football. Real quick, I'll go to my most impressive ETS and Chad, Super Chad, giving thank you for that. But he says Ruben Bain is a monster, should be in the Heisman talk. Agree with that. This guy is the best player in college football right now, man. This guy is continuing to show why he could be a top 5 pick. Maybe in a year where there's not really a clear-cut number 1 quarterback, maybe the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the way this guy is playing right now. 93.8 PFF grade, 10 pressures and a sack on 29 snaps, 45% pass rush win rate, 2 run defense stops, and a tackle for loss. He is not only the best defensive player in college football right now, he is the best player in college football right now. The most pressures in the Power 4. Chris Fowler last night with a nice shout out to PFF saying how highly we grade him every week. He said he's going to be highly graded again this week. And Chris Fowler, as usually he was dead on about that. Ruben Bain Jr., this guy is the best player in college football. And I don't think he's going to win the award, but the Heisman Trophy is really for the most outstanding player in college football. Through 4 weeks, I would say that's Ruben Bain Jr. now.
He's going to run away with the Outland and all those other ones. And, I mean, you look at you want the most ridiculous part? Okay, we talked about the pass rushing, 92.5 pass rush grade, 92.1 run D grade.
Dude.
Silly.
Like, he's just playing at literally like a Chase Young,
yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson level right now.
Yep.
That we're talking about.
Yep. Real quick, I just want to credit Miami's running backs, too, because they really got through the second half of this game with the run game. Mark Fletcher, 116 yards on the ground. Shamar Brown, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, also 53 receiving yards. This Miami offense is getting more balanced by the week, and I think it needs to be with Carson back. He's not going to carry you in the same way Cam Ward did last year, but now if you've got 2 really good backs that are breaking tackles and getting behind this offensive line, you can run the ball. You just only get more physically dominant. Miami's just been spectacular through 4 weeks. Yeah,
Miami 26-7 final score. Our coworker Beckett, who is a new Miami fan this year, saying
a new one. Okay.
Yeah, he actually picked Miami as his team because he didn't have a college football team. And before the season started, it's not like he's a bandwagon or anything like that. But he said rank Miami number 1. We'll get to that top 25 later on in the show. I'll say that
on you.
Right now.
Go ahead.
All right. Next up in this is a bittersweet game for me, really weird game for me, I would say. My alma mater, Syracuse, taking down my preseason national title pick in Clemson, 34-21. I couldn't really even enjoy this game, Dalton, because all my friends who also went to Syracuse with me in our group chat was just making fun of me. I was trying to enjoy the win with them, and they were like, no, you're not a part of this. Like, you picked Clemson to win it all.
Wow, you've been shunned.
I know.
You picked the wrong shade of orange. Jeez.
Look at this real life.
Oh, wow. Wow, that rules. Look at that. That might be the greatest thing I've ever seen, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how early he got up this morning to make that, but that's just fantastic. Look at that.
Damn it.
Wow.
Just a weird. It feels weird.
That's an all-time graphic right there.
It feels weird. It feels really weird.
Is that how it feels, just like that?
It does, yeah.
Jeez.
They gave up everything for Syracuse to beat Clemson, unfortunately. Now my national title pick, my dreams of going 3 for 3 in my career, PFF picking the national title, were right. Is dead. That's dead now. All right, let's get to the highest grade player. Starting off with the Syracuse Orange. Highest grade player was defensive tackle Rashard Perry, 80.6. Linebacker Antoine Delorier with a 79.5. David Omopariola, the edge rusher, 75.7. Devin Grant, the safety, 74.5. Chris Peel, the corner, 70.4. And Steve Angeli, the quarterback, 76.1. Let's go over to Clemson with their highest grade players in the loss for the Tigers, now 1-3 on the season. Jaheim Lawson, 88 grade in the victory. Avion Terrell, 79.9. The cornerback, another edge rusher here, and Will Helt, 72.3. Maybe a top 10 pick. And Peter Woods, D-tackle, 72.3 as well. Another edge rusher in Cade Denoff, 71.2. And Cade Klubnik with a 67.7 grade in the loss. Kind of crazy, Dalton, that there's 3 Clemson edge rushers in the top 5, and none of them were TJ Parker either. I don't know what he's graded out as. I got to look it up real quick.
It wasn't. I don't believe it was too far off from there.
Okay.
Check that, but it wasn't too far off from there.
Still a good day for the Clemson defensive line, but not a good day overall for Clemson this one. Dalton, What told the story in this game?
Yeah, I would argue through the first 4 weeks, this is the story of college football. It's just the downfall of Clemson. They're 1-3 now, and I think I'm going to get into multiple numbers here, but the one that keeps sticking out to me, and look, they fell behind 10-0 in this game. Credit to Fran Brown with the onside kick after the first touchdown drive to really get up 10 on this team and force Clemson out of their element on offense. But I'll be honest, I don't know what their element is on offense, and a big reason for that is, once again, Max, Clemson's offensive line, 58.1 PFF grade, 54.5 pass blocking grade, 56.5 run blocking grade. This offensive line in 4 games has just not been good enough. I've talked about this multiple times, but I'll be honest with you, it's just emblematic. I watched this game on offense, and you know what I see Cade Klubnik having to do? And because I don't think Cade Klubnik, has he been A+ spectacular? Not really, but he's still been not bad. He's still Cade Klubnik. He's solid. I see Cade Klubnik having to carry this Clemson team in a way that Joe Burrow generally has to carry the Cincinnati Bengals.
I like that comparison.
That's where I'm at. Offensive through 4 games, offensive line 110th, rushing grade 110th, receiving grade 86 with those receivers. Defensive grade overall 41st. We were expecting it at minimum a top 10 defense out of this unit. Coverage grade, 76, and that really let him down in this game. You mentioned all the highly graded defensive linemen. The secondary was not good in this game. Avion Terrell graded pretty high, but the rest of the secondary, not good at all. This Clemson, I mean, we just have to say it. We have to say it in plain English. This Clemson team is not a good football team.
Yeah.
They're just not. And they have a lot of names. They have a lot of talent. Maybe they'll be better throughout the season, but right now they're not. And through way too many facets of their team, they're playing below average football. And if you do that, this is what's going to happen, is you're going to get teams that punch you in the mouth early, like Georgia Tech did, like Syracuse did. LSU just shut them down. All the way around, this team right now, they're playing 1-3 football. They've played 16 quarters, and honestly, to me, they've only played good football in about maybe 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's a great comparison to Joe Burrow, because my stat is Cade Klubnik, 63 dropbacks in this game. No offense in college football, just like the Bengals in the NFL relies on their quarterback more than Cade Klubnik and Joe Burrow. Second most dropbacks in his career behind the Orange Bowl against Tennessee in his freshman year. 0.043 EPA per pass, which is a season high, actually, for Clemson, but it is still one of the worst they've had since last year, too. They've only had 3 games all of last year with that low of a number. So season high in EPA per pass, and it's still one of the worst marks they would have had last year, too. Offensive line was really bad, run blocking and pass blocking. Again, I think anyone who's looking at Clemson and placing the blame on Cade Klubnik right now is not right. I don't think
it's what they do. I mean, they're going to blame the quarterback. People blame quarterbacks, and honestly, you could still argue he's been their best player.
And he's not carrying. Listen, the comparison to Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he's been as good as Joe Burrow, or Burrow legit almost carried that Bengals team to the playoffs last year. So he hasn't been as good as that. But Cade Klubnik has been good enough, honestly. It's the rest of this offense right now is completely falling apart on him. I don't think the blame should be placed on Cade Klubnik. I think far, far more blame should be on that offensive line first, then the lack of really a run game right now, then the defense is not playing well at all yesterday either. I think Cade Klubnik is far from the biggest issue at Clemson right now. Has he been the best quarterback in America like I thought he would be going into the year, and like Dalton and I both picked him to win the Heisman? Absolutely not, and we were dead wrong about that. I'll admit that. But he has not been the issue for the Clemson Tigers either. I think a lot of other things are letting them down right now. Dawn, what was the most impressive part of the Syracuse win, though?
I'll tell you what, especially early in this game when Angeli was still in, Syracuse wide receivers were balling, man. Jonte Cook with 6 catches for 113 yards. He almost equaled his total from the first 3 games of the season in this game. Justice Ross Simmons, 5 catches, 3 of them contested, 53 yards, couple of touchdowns. Darrell Gill with a big-time touchdown, too. These Syracuse receivers, you actually pointed them out in our team preview that they might be the strength of this team. They were in this game. They've got a really nice receiving core. They were balling out, especially in the first half of this game.
Absolutely. I'll go with Steve Angeli, which is a little bittersweet as well, because
it's just awful.
We suffered what seemed to be a pretty serious injury. A lot of people talk about maybe being the Achilles for him, unfortunately. But he was once again very solid in this game. 74.5 passing grade, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. 2 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. He leads the country right now with 12 big-time throws on the season. he was on his way to what looked like another great year for a Syracuse quarterback. Now, LSU transfer Ricky Collins will take over at quarterback. Now, Steve Angeli is a redshirt junior, so he still has another year of eligibility. Plus, the fact that he got hurt in the fourth game of the year, he can probably get a medical waiver too. So maybe he has 2 more years, potentially too. But a really brutal end for Steve Angeli, potentially brutal end for what was looking like a really promising year for him. And at least, if this really is the final game for him this season, at least he led Syracuse to a very memorable win on the road over Clemson. I know it's not the same Clemson that we thought it was going into the year, but still a great win for Fran Brown and Steve Angeli, and hopefully he recovers soon and Syracuse quarterback again. But now Syracuse is 3-1 in the season. This is a team, Dalton, that we thought would struggle to make a bowl game. Now they got to win 3 of their last 8 games now to make a bowl game.
Well, they're playing well the last few weeks, and it really seemed to jumpstart when they made that comeback on UConn. Thank you for ruining my upset pick. Ever since that moment and when they came back from that, Syracuse has played well. But now to get to a bowl game and maybe even further, it's likely going to be on Ricky Collins. I mean, I know we're waiting on official diagnosis, but it certainly didn't look good for Angeli. But he's got good receivers to work with. Collins came in and threw a touchdown right when he came in. That really, you could say, put this thing away, put Syracuse up by 20. And look, credit to him. It's never easy to win at Clemson. I think the wildest stat for me that I saw roll across the ESPN feed was Clemson now, since the start of last year, has lost 4 home games. They only lost 3 home games the previous 10 years. Since 2014 to 2023, they only lost 3 home games, and now they've lost 4 in the last couple of years. Just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, really unbelievable stuff. All right, so really bittersweet game, unfortunately for me. As a Syracuse alum, I try to enjoy it as much as I could, but my preseason national champion, Clemson, is now pretty much dead. It's for that dream to happen. So unfortunate, but really unfortunate for me as a Syracuse fan. But my brother, who's now at Syracuse, and all my friends who graduated with me from Syracuse are not letting me enjoy it, unfortunately. So it's
they probably don't let you enjoy anything.
They don't. They really don't. All right. Before we get to the next game on this show, we're going to talk about the sponsor of the show, that is ZipRecruiter. Finding great candidates to hire can be like trying to find parking spot on the weekend. You get so many resumes and not enough candidates with the right skills or experience, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter's smart technology identifies top talent for your roles quickly. Immediately after you post your job, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology starts showing you qualified people for it. They let you connect with top candidates ASAP. You can use their pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to your favorite candidates and encourage them to apply sooner. Ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Next up in our review show, number 23 Missouri taking down South Carolina 29-20. What was a really, really fun ball game on Saturday night. Let's go over the highest grade players, starting off with the Missouri Tigers. Highest grade player was edge rusher Zion Young, 78.2 grade. Sterling Webb, the D tackle, 77.6. Love that picture right there from Marquise Johnson. 75.8, the wide receiver. Ahmad Hardy, the running back, 73.5. Jamal Roberts, his partner in crime in that backfield, another grade at 73.5. And Bo Prabula with a 63.5 grade in the win for the Missouri Tigers. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off for South Carolina. Gerald Kilgore, the safety, 73.9. Vicari Swain, the corner, 72.8. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, the D tackle, 71.4. Brian Thomas Jr., 71.4, the edge rusher. Vandrevius Jacobs, the wide receiver, 71.3. And Lenora Sellers with a 66 grade in the loss, the second straight loss now for South Carolina. Dawn, for you, what told the story in this game?
All right, 2 things. One, real quick. I'm a little annoyed with Missouri's kicker missing that extra point because I called this game to be 30-20.
Damn.
And it ended up 29-20.
We have not had any perfect scores yet, right, this year?
Not this year, no. I had one last year. I had Georgia beating Florida 34-20. I had Missouri 30-20.
You should have factored in college kickers, man. That's your fault.
They're getting better.
They are getting better, yeah.
All right, my real stat is something I talked about in the preview that has continued to be a bad trend for South Carolina. They only ran for 37 yards in this game. We're excluding sacks. remember, 37 yards. 17 carries, 37 yards. First of all, they only ran the ball. They only decided to run the ball 30% of the time. South Carolina's not going to win like that. You can have Lenora Sellers all you want. You can have the Superman cape, and I get he had 4 big-time throws in this game. That was basically their whole offense. They're not going to win the game. They're not going to win games running 30% of the time. They're not going to win games rushing for 37 yards. None of their runs were longer than 7 yards. They only ran for 1 first down in this game. Right now, South Carolina, they're 106th in run blocking grade. They're not running the football well. In fact, Max, the 37 yards and the 16 yards after contact were the fewest we've ever tracked in a South Carolina game since 2014.
Jeez.
This was the worst, basically the worst rushing performance South Carolina's had in PFF history. They're not going to win games like this. They're just not. Their offensive line is not good enough right now. And for as good as Lenora Sellers is, and for as great as the highlights are and the 4 big-time throws and some of the plays how he can make with the deep ball and on the move, he is not consistent enough to underneath to carry this team through 50 dropbacks a game or whatever, however many he had in this game. They need to be balanced. If they're not balanced, they're just not a very good offense. I get it. I get the ceiling with Sellers. I get the ceiling with Nick Harbor. I get the deep ball and the flashy stuff. It makes for great highlights on the shows. This is not a consistent offense, and the fact that they can't run the football is very, very troubling. And I figured it would be a problem in this game with Missouri's run defense, and Josiah Trotter and those guys did a great job up front. But if this South Carolina team is just going to be, hey, Lenora, same as Klubnik at Clemson. It's really the same exact thing to me. If Sellers has to go out there and just, hey, man, just do what you can, they're not going to win a whole lot of ball games.
That's my stat right here. Sellers outgraded Bo Perbula in this game. He had a 66 grade. Bo Perbula below him at like around a 63. Doesn't matter because South Carolina, Missouri can survive games when their quarterback is not outstanding. They can because they have an elite run game. They have a really good defense too, and great receivers. South Carolina can't. They need Lenora Sellers to be Superman for him. And Sellers had a decent game out there, right? He had over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, 4 big-time throws, 2 turnover-worthy plays. How about this, Dalton? Led the team with 18 rushing yards. He led the team with 18 rushing yards in this game. Bo Perbula, again, was okay in this one, but they still won the game because they have plenty of other things to rely on in this one too. 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 1 big-time throw, 1 turnover-worthy play. He did run for 75 yards too, so he was really good on the ground for them in this game. But really, the stat for me is one team needs their quarterback to be superhuman. The other one, yeah, it'd be nice if he plays well, but they don't need him to play well to win these big ball games because Missouri is such a well-rounded team. South Carolina is not.
You want the rough stat for me that kind of says it all with where this South Carolina offense is at? Lenora Sellers' average depth of target in this game, 15.6 yards. That's all they got right now is just going up there and hacking for the fences and chucking deep balls. And the drives where he hits one, they score. And the drives where he doesn't, which, again, those are low percentage throws, even for a guy like Sellers, they're not going to. They're not a consistent offense in any way whatsoever. He can drag them to 20 points with a couple of homers. Other than that, they can't run the ball, and his underneath accuracy, to me, is still inconsistent. The pocket presence, I mean, he's got to hold the ball back there too long because this cannot be, just like Clemson, this cannot be Lenora Sellers just putting the whole team on his back. He's not Cam Newton. He's really good. He's a great athlete. He's not Cam Newton. He's not going to do that. Yeah. And if they don't find, especially to me, a solution in the run game, they're going to be a borderline bowl 6-7 win team, and their defense is nowhere near what it was last year, which, again, you look at all the talent they drafted, that should have been obvious that they weren't going to be a top 5 defense again. So this South Carolina, they have a lot of concerns. There's a lot of concerns and a tough schedule coming.
Let's talk more about Missouri, though, because they are just red hot. I'm loving what I'm seeing from this Missouri team right now. And a guy, Dalton, that was hardly used in a weird way last year, but now has really become a star for this offense.
Yeah, he has. Look, Marquise Johnson and Kevin Coleman, for that matter, they're the 2 big receiving threats. But I want to point out Johnson in this game. Every time they needed a big catch, he gave it to him. 7 catches for 80 yards. And I think the big thing with Johnson, 5 first downs in this game. And for as much as he has the track level speed and he's that big-time deep threat for them, he wasn't going to be that in this game, and he didn't have to be. All 7 of his catches, Max, under 20 air yards. He used to be just this deep threat that once a game you throw him a deep post to keep safeties honest. Now, if Marquise Johnson is a more complete receiver that they can use horizontally across the field, which is what you saw in this game, that's big time for him. That really is big time to diversify kind of that portfolio of what he can do as a route runner. I think that's huge because in a game like this where, to me, South Carolina's secondary right now is the best part of their team and they're not going to give up big shots over the top, Marquise Johnson being able to adjust and run different routes in this offense and still succeed, that's a huge development. Right now, you look at what Missouri's got going on offense. They're rolling. And they have balance. This looks so much more like the offense we saw 2 years ago.
Yes.
We were sitting there watching Ahmad Hardy and going, well, he's probably better, but you go, that's what it looked like with Cody Schrader 2 years ago.
Yes.
And Brady Cook and the play action and Burden and Weiss. It looks like this. Again, this is not what this offense looked like last year. That's what it looks like this year. They look fantastic.
Who was the backup to Cody Schrader that year? The running back. Because I believe they had a pretty good backup. Let me find it right now.
Oh, I can't think of it right now. You're killing me.
Oh, Nathaniel Pete. I like Nathaniel Pete.
Yeah, but I mean,
Jamal Roberts is better than Nathaniel Pete.
Absolutely. No, I think this is a better set of backs. And Cody Schrader, I mean, he ran for over 1,600 yards. This offensive line was rolling in this game without Caden Green. Caden Green didn't even play in this game.
Yeah, the best offensive lineman.
Yeah. I mean, this is this Missouri offense right now. They have balance. This looks like the 2023 version of this offense. They're really dangerous against whoever they play against, especially the run game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going with Missouri running backs. My most impressive, Ahmad Hardy, 22 carries for 138 yards and a touchdown, 118 yards after contact, 9 broken tackles, a 41% broken tackle rate. Jamal Roberts, 13 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, 57 yards after contact, 6 broken tackles, a 46% broken tackle rate. Ahmad Hardy right now is the favorite to win the Doak Walker Award. This guy leads the nation with 37 broken tackles in the year and 458 yards after contact in the year too. Also leads the Power 4 in total rushing yards. And then Jamal Roberts is one of the best number 2 backs in the country right now. And like I said before, Bo Pribula has played great ball this year. Wasn't perfect this week. He was okay overall, pretty solid game from him. But really, they relied on Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts, and that's why this Missouri offense is so freaking dangerous, because they have stars on the offensive line, at running back, at quarterback, at wide receiver. They have a really well-rounded offense and a star at offensive coordinator in Kirby Moore, too. This Missouri offense, like you just said, Dalton, is very reminiscent of that 2023 version.
Those two guys, two of the top 25 rushing grades in the country. Hardy at an 89, Roberts at an 83. Just fantastic stuff so far from this run game, and the balance in their offense are incredibly dangerous. Yep.
All right, let's get to the next game. Memphis taking down Arkansas in what was a really, really fun noon game, 32-31. Memphis getting a massive win for their potential playoff resume. And Arkansas, for the second straight week, Dalton, after fumbling it on what could have been the game-winning drive against Ole Miss, they fumbled it on what could have been the game-winning drive against Memphis as well. So back-to-back games where Arkansas fumbled on the potential game-winning drive for them. Let's go over the highest grade players, though, starting off with the Memphis Tigers. Their highest grade player was safety Kamari Wilson, 77.2. Offensive tackle Chris Adams, 75.3. Chris Bracey, the safety, 73.6. Running back Sutton Smith, talk about him later, 73.4. Bryce Anderson, 72.9, the tight end. And Brendan Lewis with a 64.1 grade at quarterback. Let's go over to Arkansas with their highest grade players in the loss, going over with Bradley Shaw, the linebacker, 81.6. Quincy Rhodes Jr., 80.8, the edge rusher. Ian Jaffrard, the D-tackle, 75.2. Jaden Platt, the tight end, 74.6. Julian Neal, the corner, 74.2. And Taylor Green played pretty well with a 78.5 grade, but not enough in the loss for the Razorbacks. Dalton, what told the story of this game?
Yeah, the Arkansas offense went dark in the second half, the entire second half, and that last fumble was really emblematic of all of that. Arkansas, 5 drives in the second half, 1 field goal, 2 punts, an interception, and that Mike Washington fumble at the end, a 64.8 offensive grade. And when I was going back and watching this second half, to me it was really about first down. They were not making any plays. They weren't making plays on first down. Memphis dialed in their run defense on first down, especially first half, first down runs for Arkansas, 8.8 yards per carry. Second half, 1.1 yards per carry. They were going to put Arkansas in bad situations in the second half by stopping the run on first down no matter what. They were going to make them throw the football, make Talon Green beat you with his arm. And honestly, he can do that. Talon Green can beat you with his arm. Absolutely. He's really talented. But in a game where Arkansas was ahead 28-10, they lost sight of their run game and they weren't able to make enough plays on first down. That's how Memphis, got that momentum. That's how they came all the way back. And then obviously forcing the turnovers is big time. Those 2 second-half turnovers and obviously the fumble at the end that just about sealed it. Big-time stuff from Memphis' defense after a rough first half, stepped up and only gave up 3 points in the second half and really shut down Arkansas, especially on the ground.
I'll do my stat and most impressive in the same go here. Stat, Memphis 8.2 yards per carry. Most impressive, running back Sutton Smith. Because Memphis, really, I thought going into this game, I had concerns for Arkansas's secondary defending Brendan Lewis, considering how bad the secondary was against Ole Miss the week before and how bad it was the year before, really, too. The Razorbacks had difficulties with Brendan Lewis, but as a runner, not as a passer in this game. Memphis averaged 3.9 yards before contact, 4.2 yards after contact, over 300 rushing yards in this game. Brendan Lewis had 122 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, and Sutton Smith, my most impressive, had 147 yards and a touchdown on only 12 carries in this game, almost 150 rushing yards on 12 carries, 90 yards after contact, 12.3 yards per carry, 7.5 yards after contact per carry. This Arkansas defense had serious issues, and this Memphis rushing attack exploited them in this one. This rushing game for Memphis with Brendan Lewis and with Sutton Smith, if they keep playing like that and the offensive line keeps playing like that too, with Brendan Lewis looking like one of the best passers that we have in the group of 5 too, Memphis is absolutely one of the favorites to win the American, and by proxy, one of the favorites to make the college football playoff this year.
This American conference this year is just ridiculous. Memphis and what they just did getting this big win, and that Arkansas team is good. They're struggling on defense, but that's a good football team. What USF is doing and the way they bounced back from the Miami loss. Tulane, obviously, they took a beating against Ole Miss, but they've already beaten Northwestern and Duke. They've shown what they can do. UTSA, Army, Navy. The American, you have to feel like right now, and I know there's a chance maybe a UNLV or somebody runs the table, but you have to feel like right now that the winner of the American is going to be the playoff team. And it's going to be, when I tell you it's going to be a bloodbath, you got some darn good football teams that are going to play each other in this American Conference. It is going to be so much fun to watch. I think a huge story when it comes to the playoff race is what happens in the American with, I think, 5, 6, 7 teams that are all really, really good.
I agree. What was your most impressive part in this Memphis win?
Look, I got to give it to the guy who made really the game-winning play, the safety Chris Bracey from Memphis. Look, 90.9 run defense grade. A big reason for that is that game-winning fumble. The punch-out on Mike Washington as he was reaching for the first down that really would have sealed the game for Arkansas. They were already well within field goal range down near the 10-yard line, but 90.9 run defense grade, 4 tackles, 1 stop, also a pass break up in coverage. He's the hero. That play from Chris Bracey, the punch out on Mike Washington, is the play that everybody in Memphis is going to remember forever. A huge win for their program and a huge win, again, for their playoff chances. You can maybe even afford 1 loss in the American because you have this win right here. That can carry you past some things. You have to win the conference, but you feel really good about these teams. Some of these teams in the American, if they do make a run, being ranked high enough for sure to get in and have that advantage.
Well, spoiler, there will be a couple American teams, my top 25.
That conference is excellent this year. I'm telling you, there are 6 or 7 teams there that could legitimately. North Texas had a couple big wins. They've looked really good so far too. It is going to be a lot of fun to watch that conference. Yep, absolutely. There's a ton of them, and a lot of them already have big wins over Power 4 schools.
Absolutely. Yep. But Memphis getting a major one with a 32-31 win over Arkansas. Before we move on to the final couple games here in our Week 4 review, got to talk about Game Time, the best place to score tickets for college football games. Hands down, the easiest way I found to get sports tickets. Dalton, unfortunately, we cannot be going to Penn State, Oregon this weekend, but man, I would love to go to Penn State, Oregon. Maybe we can move the studio, or maybe find a studio in Happy Valley, and we can do a show on Sunday morning.
That's a long drive.
Talk with the producers after the show. Maybe we'll figure out.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll see. I'm sure they'll be thrilled.
I can hear Eli and Quinn and Tyler back there screaming no. But
no road trip.
No, but right now, that is the game of the week next week. 2 potentially top 5 teams. I think they're both will be ranked in the top 5 Tickets are expensive, but you can get the best price on Game Time right now. The cheapest tickets right now, $435 for that just get-in price. Trust me, if you can afford it and you're in the area, go to that football game. That is going to be that atmosphere as a lifelong Penn State fan who's gone to a lot of whiteout games in my lifetime. That whiteout in that kind of game against Oregon, a top 5 team, because whiteouts recently with all the big noon stuff have not been the best. It's usually like, okay, it's maybe like a Minnesota or something like that. They got a top 5 team in Oregon. It's the whiteout game. That stadium is going to be rocking. And I know I'm a little bit biased here, but I don't think there's a better environment in college football than a whiteout is going to be rocking. And Game Time is the best way to get a part of that whiteout game for Penn State against Oregon, and really any game in sports, really. Fees are included. Know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Zone deals save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. And your favorites snag new ticket deals before anyone finds out by favoriting teams in the app to receive alerts. Download the Game Time app and use code PFFC for $20 off your first purchase. That's Game Time. Amazing deals and no hassle. All right. Next up in our review, Arizona State beating Baylor on a walk-off field goal, 27-24, the final score, and that was go over the highest graded player, starting off with the Sun Devils. Highest graded player for them was Kendrick Breedlove, the cornerback, with a 76.1 grade in the win. Actually, the highest graded player was Sam Levitt, who 87.7. He actually had a really good game for Arizona State. Javen Robinson, 74.6. Keith Abney, the second, another corner, 73.5. Clayton Smith, edge rusher, 70.8. And then Max Ianachor with a 70.4 grade in the win for the Sun Devils. Let's go over to Baylor with their highest graded players in the loss. Offensive guard Ryan Lengyel, 78.3. D tackle Jackie Marshall, 78. Safety Devin Bobby, 76. Center Colton Price, 75.4. Tight end Michael Trigg, 74.3. And quarterback Sawyer Robertson, 66.1 grade in this one. Dawn, what told the story in this game?
All right, I have to give kudos. I challenged Marcus Arroyo to run the football more, and he absolutely did that. So they came into this game, the first 3 games, running the ball about 43, 44% of the time, a lot lower than they were last year. I mentioned 80th in the country coming into the week. Last year, they were 25th. Last year, they ran the ball 51.7% of the time. In this game, they ran the ball 51.8% of the time. Gotta love that. Get back to the formula. Also, 9 screen passes in this game. Arizona State is usually a heavy screen team that they want to get their athletes out in space and win out there. They're going to run off tackle. They did that very well in this game, especially with Raleek Brown. And obviously, Sam Levitt can do just some crazy things with his legs. But I like the fact that Levitt was involved in the run game with a lot more option looks, right? There's read options, especially with a lot of that jet motion and him being able to run behind those power schemes up front with this offensive line. 47 carries, 44 of them by design, 182 yards. So I'm not going to tell you that's the most efficient clip you've ever seen, but I think the idea is controlling the pace of the game. Run things through your run game like you did last year. I know you don't have Cam Scatterbo. You're not going to have one guy as good as Cam Scatterbo, but there's enough rushing threats in this offense, especially right now the way Raleek Brown is running the ball and the way Sam Levitt's running the ball too. They've got enough to have a legitimate run game. And the big thing, against a fast-paced, high-flying Baylor offense, they held the ball for 36 and a half minutes. Arizona State, despite the close score, they controlled the pace of this game for the vast majority of it. Build through your run game. Sam Levitt's been a little bit inconsistent with the passing, but you saw it a couple of times in this game. The home run ability he's got with his arm, that can make a difference, but don't rely on it too much. Kind of the same way that I would ask South Carolina to start running the show is with a little more balance, 50-50. That's what Arizona State did this week. A lot of credit to Marcus Arroyo on the way he called this game. They controlled the pace. They got out of there with a win.
Yeah, Arizona State's run game was big, and also their passing game was much better than Baylor. EPA per pass difference, my stat right here, 0.388 for Arizona State, negative 0.266 for Baylor. Sam Levitt with a 76 passing grade, over 220 yards, 3 big-time throws, 1 turnover-worthy play. Sawyer Robertson had over 250 yards, but only a 65.3 passing grade with 1 big-time throw and 1 turnover-worthy play. Also had an interception in this game, too. Sam Levitt did not have an interception. So, really, the passing games were a massive difference in this one, too. And Levitt was really good on the ground, and that's why, ultimately, Arizona State squeaked out a victory. I think the passing games were just completely different. And another offense, Dalton, in Baylor. I know Bryson Washington's a really good player, but that Baylor offensive line has not really been the best for them this year. It just feels like right now this Baylor offense is so reliant on Sawyer Robertson to drop back and throw 50 times a game. It just feels like Cade Klubnik at Clemson and Lenore Sellers at South Carolina right now.
And the problem is, and Bryson Washington was pretty good in this game, but the problem is, again, they can't control the pace of it in the trenches on either side. And I do want to credit Arizona State's secondary. I have that down as my most impressive. You take all their corners and safeties in this game, and this is without Xavier Alford. He missed this game with an injury, and he's usually the backbone back there at free safety. 77.1 coverage grade from their secondary, 4 forced incompletions from 4 different players, 20 targets in total, 12 catches allowed for 100 yards. Not bad at all. Sawyer Robertson in the first 3 quarters, 56 passing grade. It basically just came down to him to see if he could bail them out. He did tie the game. He did a nice job in the 4th quarter, but when you don't have control of the pace of the game, we saw this against Auburn in that loss. We saw it in this game. We even saw it in the SMU game. Look, they happened to win a shootout, and Robertson made a couple more throws than Kevin Jennings. But this Baylor team they're going to just try to get in shootouts and win with Robertson and their receivers, and it's not going to work every week. If you have a team right now that can run the football functionally on Baylor, you can find a way to win that football game because they don't have enough right now in the front 7. Jackie Marshall played well up front. That's a big piece to get back. He's really the heart and soul of the run defense, but they've got to be better as a unit because they can't control the pace of football games right now.
I will give credit to Baylor a little bit. They had an 86.9 run blocking grade as a team in this one, so a lot better run blocking than it's been in the past, but I still think it's really reliant on Sawyer Robertson right now. And my most impressive real quick is Arizona State's offensive line. Only an 11.1% pressure rate allowed, over a 79 pass blocking grade in this grade, 75.7 I should say in this game too. And they really helped the team run for over 180 yards and kept Sam Levitt clean for the most part too. So Arizona State's offensive line I thought was a really, really good part of their win in this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, Arizona State, they got another huge game next week against TCU, and I think the formula needs to be similar. It feels like they're trying to find that rhythm and what this offense and what Marcus Arroyo really wants this offense to look like. But this was a good step in the right direction for them. I think next week is a big test. If they can stick with the run game and same thing, keep Josh Hoover from taking the game over in the same way they did with Robertson this week, then you've got yourself a scenario where maybe Arizona State starts to find its footing after some early struggles.
So I shouted out the ASU offensive line. You want to shout out a unit on the defense that really played well.
Yeah, the secondary, they were terrific. I mean, that's the big part of it. You've got Sawyer Robertson and all these weapons. Again, a 77 coverage grade combined from the corners and safeties. And to win that game in the secondary without Xavier Alford is big time. If they can bring that next week, especially after the game Hoover and then Eric McAllister just had for TCU, we'll get to next, that's big. If their secondary can play up, this is a coverage-first defense, and then they work their way forward with the aggression, with the speed. That's going to be big for Arizona State. I thought the secondary played a lot better than they did in the first 3 games.
Arizona State winning a thriller, 27-24, wrapping up our Week 4 review with another Big 12 team winning. TCU taking down SMU 35-24. Let's go over to the highest grade player, starting off with the Horned Frogs. Highest grade player for them was cornerback Jamel Johnson, 86.2. Then right after that, Eric McAllister, I'll talk about later because he was unbelievable in this one, 84.1 grade. Bud Clark, their star safety, 70.3. Javon McIver Jr., the corner, 69.2. Colton Deary, the center, 68.9. And Josh Hoover with a really solid 69.6 grade in the win for TCU. Let's go over to SMU with their highest grade players, starting off with defensive tackle Jeffrey Mba, 85.8. Cameron Robertson, the edge rusher, 76.6. Cornerback Deuce Harmon, 72.8. Ja'Kai Lang, the edge rusher, 71.8. Offensive tackle Andrew Chambly, 71.1. And Kevin Jennings with a pretty good game, 78.4, but not enough for SMU in the loss. Dalton, what told the story in this game?
I think to me, I look at these two quarters, and Jennings, look, he tried, man. I mean, he had a 93 passing grade under pressure. A lot of that pressure is self-inflicted because the average time to throw was so much higher than Josh Hoover. But I think this game was won and lost on third down. TCU went 9 for 17, SMU 4 for 13. You look at yards per play on third down. SMU 7.5. Not bad. Got some shots in there. TCU on third down, 14 yards per play. It was like automatic, especially when it was Hoover throwing to McAllister. And the big thing, I think Jennings, he did make some plays on early downs, especially on the move. He's the roller coaster. We know he's Kevin Jennings. Josh Hoover on third down, 89.8 passing grade, 4 of his 5 touchdowns. Kevin Jennings, a decent 68.8 passing grade, but not enough. Josh Hoover and Eric McAllister, especially on the money downs on third down when they really needed it, the ball was coming out on time. It's a more stable, predictable offense that you know what you're going to get out of it, as opposed to the roller coaster you get with Kevin Jennings rolling out the pocket all the time. And look, Jennings made a lot of great plays, but Hoover made his plays within structure more consistently. That was the difference, especially in the biggest moments of this game.
And TCU did not need Josh Hoover to grade out at an 80 or above in this game, because my stat, and most impressive, TCU 210 yards after the catch in this game, and most impressive is Eric McAllister having most of those 210 yards. Over 55% of Josh Hoover's passing yards in this game came after the catch. TCU averaged nearly 10 yards after the catch per reception, which is absolutely ludicrous. 10 broken tackles after the catch, and Eric McAllister, 8 catches for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns with 145 yards after the catch, 106 receiving yards after contact, 5 broken tackles as well. Eric McAllister was a freaking superstar in this game against SMU. SMU's secondary was missing tackles left and right, and TCU made them pay. Again, Josh Hoover played fine in this game, but he didn't need to be a superstar because TCU's receivers, specifically Eric McAllister, they stole the show. Eric McAllister was outstanding in this one. He had, like I said, 145 yards after the catch and over 250 receiving yards total for the Horned Frogs.
Yeah, and some guys that we're not used to seeing playing poorly. Isaiah Nakwobia, the star safety for SMU, 56th grade, 3 missed tackles. Alex Kilgore, the linebacker, of 46th grade. Ahmad Moses with a 55 grade. The guys in the middle of that defense that usually make SMU's defense so great, they struggled in this game. And at that point, it just allowed Josh Hoover, basically him and Eric McAllister. Eric could just run a slant, and he would break 2 tackles, and he was gone. He did it a couple of times in this game. So McAllister really, the first couple weeks, it seems like it's been Jordan Dwyer who's been that number 1 option for TCU so far. But now you've got McAllister rolling. Jordan Dwyer has been really good. Joe Manjack, the Houston transfer, has been solid. This TCU offense is pretty loaded, man. This receiving core is a dangerous, dangerous group.
Who do you want to shout out on TCU's defense in this game?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Jamel Johnson, and we always talk about Bud Clark, the star safety, but Jamel Johnson, 87.2 coverage grade, couple of late interceptions that sealed this game, 3 catches allowed for 46 yards, 4 stops. I mean, TCU's ability right now to pass and stop the pass, big-time stuff. The receiving core has been great, but if you've got another safety in Jamel Johnson that's really good alongside Bud Clark and everything they can do, flying all around and forcing turnovers and things like that, TCU's team is dangerous. I think all of a sudden you look at some of the results we've gotten in the Big 12 so far. Baylor's struggling. Arizona State's grinding, right? Iowa State keeps grinding through as well, but they're winning ball games. But TCU, the way the quarterback's playing, the way their passing game is rolling, the secondary is rolling, you got to feel like they have a shot. Yep. Right? I mean, you're ahead of Utah in the standings right now. You're ahead of a lot of other teams. I know Texas Tech is the class right now, but this TCU team is a real threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Big win for TCU, 35-24. Big game coming up this week, too, against Arizona State. We'll talk about that in the preview later on in the show, but that wraps up our reviews for Week 4, but not done in the show just yet because we still have our standouts of the week, our top 25 of the week, recapping our upset picks, and a teaser for what is our most loaded preview show of the year. I want to shout out Donnie in the chat for giving us a super chat saying he missed some games this week. He had a bar crawl this week for him.
Okay.
But still a great week overall. So.
Well, he had the Iowa game on Friday, so I'm sure he didn't miss that. He was good yesterday after Iowa.
He was celebrating Iowa.
That's what it
bar
is.
crawl.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
We'll
Take
get to
advantage.
Hey, Donnie, we'll get to them in
You're
a
only
second.
in college one time, man.
Absolutely.
Go to the bar as much as you can. Dawn and I are going to the bars now, unfortunately.
Well, I guess in theory you could go back.
You could go back.
Could. I'm not a big school guy.
I'm not welcome back at Syracuse considering I picked Clemson.
Yeah, that's a good call. Oh, boy. All right.
Anyways,
go ahead.
Before we get to the standouts, I got to talk about the sponsor of the show, that is Fabric by Gerber Life. As parents, we do everything we can to set up our kids for a successful future, academics, team sports, college admissions. But what about getting started financially when they're out on their own? Fabric makes it easy to help you make an investment account for your child now that grows with them and helps prepare them for their financial future. Fabric was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path with a kids investment account from Fabric. You can start investing in your child's future today. Kids can't invest when they're minors, but a UGMA Kids investment account allows them to invest on their behalf now and gives those investments more time to grow. There are no contribution limits, multiple tax advantages, and they're SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus, no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Fabric has partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. That's meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. MEET, fabric.com/PFFcollege. This is a paid promotion for the Fabric UGMA product and not for investment advisory services. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Custodial services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. Terms may apply. All right, Dalton. Standouts of the week. We had a lot of people in the chat asking us, because we didn't cover the game, even though we previewed it, because Ole Miss killed Tulane. A lot of people in the chat asking, is Trinidad Chambliss the new starting quarterback for Ole Miss? What is your answer to that question?
I'm glad you bring it up because that's the first guy I was going to mention anyway. Look, we talked about a potential quarterback controversy in Texas Tech earlier, right? To me, this should not be a controversy at all, the way he's played through 2 weeks. Trinidad Chambliss. Lane Kiffin, if you want to mess around with this team, losing all the talent you had last year and missing the playoff last year, you want to mess around with this team and make the playoff, leave this kid in there. I like Austin Simmons. I like his talent. Looked shaky through the team's first 2 games, shaky, and then got hurt at the end of the Kentucky game. Leave Trinidad Chambliss in there. You want a shot to beat LSU next week with all the things he can do through the air and on the ground? Absolutely. This week, 77 passing grade, 307 yards, 3 big-time throws, 78.5 rushing grade, 113 yards on the ground, 4 explosive runs. Austin Simmons cannot do the things right now that this kid can do. Leave Trinidad Chambliss in there. Give him the LSU start, and honestly start him until further notice. If Ole Miss wants a chance to make the playoffs, they've had this kid fall into their laps. It's a blessing in disguise. Obviously, Simmons getting hurt. You never want to see a kid get hurt. But Trinidad Chambliss has been fantastic so far this season. 89 PFF grade, 13th best in the country. Leave him in there. I don't even think this is a debate. Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, this offense is absolutely rolling. Big 45-10 win over a pretty darn good Tulane team.
Yeah, I agree. He should be the starting quarterback for Ole Miss right now. One of my shout-outs should be the Arizona State social media team for using us very heavily in their Baylor.
It's why they won, really.
It really is. Their Baylor hype video, we were actually in that, so shout out to them. That was really, really cool. I really appreciate that. But my real shout-out this week is Dylan Riley, the running back at Boise State, because, yes, Ashton Ginty is no longer a Boise State Bronco, but one of his replacements put up a very Ginty-like performance this Saturday. Dylan Riley, 19 carries, 171 yards, and 4 touchdowns in a win over Air Force. He broke 5 tackles, had 133 yards after contact. If that wasn't enough, Dalton, he also had 2 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown with 93 yards after the catch. So 171 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 84 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Dylan Riley, just an unbelievable game and very reminiscent of the Ashton Ginty stupid performance we got last year.
Certainly learned from the best, didn't he? I mean,
yeah.
You go in there, Boise State, man. It's just every year, every 2 years, just more running backs. It's been 15 years with these running backs, and just get more and more of them. I mean, Dylan Riley, nice job out there, and high scoring win over Air Force too, man. Needed every bit of it for sure.
All right, who's your next standout?
All right, Donnie, you ready? You ready? We're going to talk about a whole unit. We're going to talk about a whole unit, Max. This Iowa offensive line, hey, I picked them to win the Joe Moore Award. They should clearly be the favorites for that right now. Mm-hmm. They absolutely blew away Rutgers up front the other night. How about in this game?
A good Rutgers D-line, too.
A good Rutgers D-line. They blew Rutgers away up front on Friday night, and that win, 94.1 grade as a unit. All 5 starters, at least a 75 grade. All 5 of them. This year, Max, all right, you got Jennings Dunker, Logan Jones, Cade Piper's awesome at guard. He's fantastic. This year, Max, this Iowa offensive line as a unit, you ready? They have a 97.2 PFF grade.
Damn.
The next closest team, I forget who it is, the next closest team, 86.5. Oh. They're 11 points better than any other offensive line. I've never seen that high a grade a unit, let alone a single player, let alone a whole unit. 97.2 offensive line grade at Iowa this year?
I need just one-on-ones with Miami against Iowa right now. I don't need the whole game. I just need just one-on-ones with that defensive line against that offensive line.
Playoffs? No, we'll get to that. Iowa's got a big one next week.
They do.
Well, first of all, you're getting them against Indiana's D-line next week.
Yeah.
That's fun enough in the way they just played. But either way, this Iowa offensive line, I'm just going to vouch for it now, A, because I picked it, and B, because it's the right pick. The Joe Moore, if they keep playing anywhere close to this, it should not go anywhere outside of that Iowa campus. Those 5 guys up front are just mauling people. I mean, the NFL players all across it. It's nuts what this Iowa offensive line is doing right now.
Yeah, really surprising shocker that Iowa's a great offensive line. Every single year they have a great offensive line, it feels like, and just another elite one this year. So, yeah, they've been dominant so far. My shout-out, another one that actually people in the chat are shouting out too, so Ballnovers in the chat. CJ Carr, Notre Dame quarterback, was stellar in Notre Dame's first win of the season over Purdue. 93.2 passing grade, 10 for 12 for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 big-time throws and only 12 attempts, no turnover-worthy plays. The Fighting Irish went into that game having to win 10 in a row to even have a shot at making the playoff. Step 1 is done now for Notre Dame. Big win for them over Purdue. CJ Carr looks like a star at quarterback for them. He's not the problem with that team right now, and really good performance from him against Purdue.
Still a little bit of concerns about their defense. I don't love giving up 23 in the first half to Purdue, but CJ Carr, no, if there's anything, the biggest positive that came out of those 2 losses is that there's no question that CJ Carr is the guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely no question. Big game this week against Arkansas. Might have to put up a lot of points again, but CJ Carr, I'm with you. He's been spectacular through 3 games.
Who is your third standout?
All right, I am going to go back to the USF Bowls. We've talked about a lot, and I know they beat South Carolina State. And the craziest part to me, what was this game? This was 63-10 or 63-14 this game. And somehow the Bulls only had the ball for 17 minutes, right crazy. Around there, which is I was tweeting out some just crazy stuff. This game was 52-7, and somehow they had the ball for only 9 minutes, which is just ridiculous. But let me point out a guy we talked about the first few weeks, Mac Harris, number 24, their linebacker. I just saw this entire stat line, and I was in. 92.7 grade, 9 tackles, 7 stops, 5 pressures, 2 sacks, one of them a strip sack.
Oh, my God.
And a pick 6.
Oh, my God.
Just ridiculous stuff from Mac Harris in this game.
He's been great all year, too.
He's been spectacular all year. He's been their best player all year. He was
a Buckus candidate.
Could be, honestly, low-key. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez we talked about earlier in the show, but Mac Harris and what this USF defense – and look – could have been a trap game. They got whooped by Miami last week, just like everybody is. Mac Harris right now, the 7th highest graded linebacker in the country. I'm a little surprised he's only 7th, but that's probably from the Miami game. 7th highest graded linebacker in the country right now. Heart and soul of a really good USF defense. Byron Brown had a 90 grade in that game also. They're rolling into American play too. I think they understand, and Alex Golesh understands. Yeah, that Miami team is just different, man.
Yeah.
We took care of business the first 2 games. We're going to be just fine. And USF's defense, I'm telling you, it's way better than at any point I've seen in this era.
Yeah. My last standout is Zach Durfee, the edge rusher from Washington. 11 pressures and a quarterback hit in the Apple Cup win over arch rival Washington State. 27.6% pass rush win rate, almost a 38% pressure rate. Also had a run defense stop in this game, too. He was absolutely unblockable for the Huskies. Yes, he didn't get a sack in this game, but 11 pressures and a hit. Well, also a run defense stop, too. Washington has a big game. They're undefeated right now. Big game next week against Ohio State. And they need Zach Durfee to really play well like he did against Washington State.
Absolutely. A big-time win in the Apple Cup. I think they put up, 58 points. Damon Williams had a fantastic take. Jonah Coleman as a receiver had a big-time day in that game. Yeah. I mean, if you get Jonah Coleman in the passing game, too, that's going to be a fun one. We got a lot of previews next week, and we got some fun ones coming.
You cheated. You have one more.
I did. You know what? Because my last 2 guys, I was in between them, so I said, let me throw in a bonus one. We haven't talked about BYU really at all because they haven't played a ton of big-time teams. They on the road at East Carolina. They were in kind of a defensive struggle early on in this game, but tell you what, their cornerback number 0, Evan Johnson, he really made the biggest plays in this game. 89.9 coverage grade, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6, another forced incompletion, allowed just 3 catches for 18 yards. Just wanted to point out Evan Johnson and this BYU defense and the effort that they put in, making a long road trip out to East Carolina they got a tough test in that game. They did early on. That game was 3-0 and 6-3 for a while, but Evan Johnson, especially the pick 6, really put things things out of reach. Just wanted to point him out too. I was really between him and Harris as a third one, and I was like, screw it, let me just do them both, because you know what, why not? Why not have more standouts?
Well, right? We haven't talked about BYU a lot this year, but we will preview them in this upcoming week against Colorado.
We absolutely
can't
will.
wait for that one
For sure.
But I want to recap the upset picks of the week. Your boy here, the only one of us three to hit.
Well done.
Maryland plus 260. That was a ridiculous money line. That was never a doubt for Maryland, and they look like a legit team right now over Wisconsin. Dalton, you missed with your Southern Miss pick, and Eli barely missed his NC State pick too.
Boy, Malik Washington for Maryland.
He's a star.
He is a stud. 74 PFF grade in this game against what is still a pretty good Wisconsin coverage unit. Maryland, of course, we mentioned they lead the nation in interceptions. They had one early. Danny O'Neal really struggled against that secondary in this game. Wisconsin falling on hard times big time, but Maryland, I'll tell you what, with their star quarterback and what they have going on there, team's on the way up. You really like it. I think even so far right now through this start, it's everything you could have hoped for and more if you're Maryland.
So, really big week for me, Dalton, because now I've taken a commanding lead in the upset picks.
Sure
I have 384 points. Eli's 130. You still have 0. And also, I was down 3 games to you in our picks. We're tied now.
You made it up. Nice job. Yeah,
I made it up. I think I went 8-2. I think I went 8-2 this week, and you went 5-5.
All right. Yeah. No, some borderline ones. It was tough because I had Utah and Auburn, and what's the other one we differed on somewhere here? I had Baylor. I took Baylor. Yeah. Yep. Lost. Yep. Hey, what are you gonna do?
Tough. But
yeah, what it is.
Going into big week 5 for us. But before we do, because we have a top 25 for week 5. And Dalton, once again, I feel like I say this every show, it's getting crazy. And my top 25, I am not beholden to where I rank a team the previous week. It's really about what have you done in your resume overall. So let's get into that top 25 right now. New number 1 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes.
Ooh.
Now number 1 after beating Florida. Ohio State moves down to number 2. Georgia, number 3. Oklahoma at number 4 now. Moving up from number 12 to number 4. They have a lot of big wins now over Michigan, over Auburn now. They've looked really good. And Florida State, I decided to move up a few spots too. They didn't really have a big game this week against Kent State, but Florida State with LSU's wins over Florida and Clemson looking a little worse by the week. I decided to move Florida State back up. And then let's go to the rest of the top 25 now. LSU at 6, Oregon 7, Penn State 8, Texas 9, Texas A&M 10, Indiana all the way up to 11 after their dominant victory. Ole Miss at 12, Texas Tech all the way up to number 13, Vanderbilt at 14, Missouri at 15. The rest of the top 25 here at number 16, we got Iowa State. At number 17, we have Georgia Tech, 18, Michigan, 19, Mississippi State, 20, Alabama, 21, Tennessee, 22, Memphis joining the top 25 now, 23, TCU joining the top 25 now, 24, USF, and 25, Notre Dame. Dawn, what stands out to you in the top 25?
That 11 through 15 range. Actually, can we go back to that real quick? That 11 through 15 range. You've got Indiana in there, you've got Ole Miss in there. Those 5 teams right there within the last week or two are all teams that have gained, obviously in your eyes, and rightfully so, a boatload of respect. Vanderbilt, obviously, with what they've done, dominant win yesterday, big win over South Carolina. Those teams are really the risers to me. That range right there, you're talking about all those teams. If they can execute right and everything moving forward, you feel like, hey, win 1 or 2 big games. You don't have to go undefeated necessarily, but win 1 or 2 big games. That's the group right there I'm looking at. Boy, you get yourself to 10 wins, and Texas Tech's a different thing because they might be the best team in the Big 12 and might win the conference, but all of those teams sit there and you go, we get to 10 wins with some of these wins we've had early in the season.
Yep.
You start to think about playoff. Even a team like Vandy, and I'll tell you, I cannot wait. I know it's not next week, it's the week after. I cannot wait for the Vandy-Alabama rematch.
Yeah.
I just cannot wait for it. That's going to be so good. But Ole Miss, I think, again, the story with Trinidad Chambliss and where this is going, they're playing LSU next week. Boy, oh boy, that's a huge story in the SEC right now, I think.
I want people to understand, too, is that it's not pure resume just yet. I still think it's a little early for pure resume, so there still is a little bit, okay, how good do I think a team is? Because Penn State, for example, they're number 8 in my ranking. They're not going to be number 8 in the AP poll. I guarantee that. They'll be like number 2 or 3 probably.
Right.
But Penn State, if you're going purely off resume, Penn State would not be in the top 25. Penn State should be somewhere in the top 25. That's why I still have them number 8. But that, if any Penn State fans wondering, why are we number 8 when we were 3-0, we were blowing teams out, you've done nothing so far. Now, if they beat Oregon this week, they'll vault from number 8 maybe to number 1 or 2, honestly. Like that's that big of a game. Or same thing for Oregon too. But that's what my process in the top 25 is. Okay, it's how good I think you are as a team, but also mostly how good your resume has been so far.
No, I think that's the right way to do it. And I think there's other teams. It's more about the 7 teams ahead of them. They've earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you even talk about Oregon. They're going head-to-head. Oregon's been just dominant.
They look better than Penn State.
Unbelievable right now. That Oregon. What a ball game that's going to be.
I can't wait. And Dalton, want to break down what is, I'll say it right now, it is the biggest preview show of the year so far. We are doing not 10 games like we did, not 9 games or even 11 games. We're doing a full 12 games on Tuesday because we need to.
Yeah, sorry, Eli. I know it's a lot. It's a lot on us too. Don't you worry. But let's start in the Big Ten. There, you got Oregon going to Happy Valley playing Penn State. You got Ohio State taking a trip out west to Washington. A red-hot offense with DeMond Williams and Jonah Coleman. That's going to be fun. Indiana off a big win. Iowa off a big win. We're going to get a big matchup at Iowa between those two teams. The winner of that game is going to really feel like they have a good playoff shot. You've also got, now let's go to the SEC with Alabama and Georgia. It doesn't get bigger than Alabama and Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, come on now. But LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss red hot backup quarterback coming in, starting playing well against Blake Baker and that LSU defense. Auburn playing Texas A&M. Auburn's trying to bounce back. They got another tough road test at A&M. I'm losing. I got 12 games here. I'm almost losing track of them. Tennessee going down to undefeated Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Eli, don't rest on your laurels, man. That Mississippi State team looks pretty good. Back to the Big Ten with one I forgot. USC undefeated. Mm-hmm. Going to Illinois off a big loss. Can Illinois find their footing and stop a red-hot USC offense? Arkansas off a tough loss. Got to host Notre Dame, CJ Carr and those guys trying to find it. TCU and Arizona State in a big Big 12 matchup. BYU and Colorado. Colorado's offense looked better yesterday against Wyoming late last night. BYU, obviously, a great defense, and Bear Bachmeier, another good true freshman quarterback. Arizona playing Iowa State. Arizona's been a surprise. They're bouncing back this season, and let me know if that was all 12. I don't think I missed. I think I got them all here, but man.
I think Ohio State, Washington, too.
Ohio State, yeah, they're taking the trip out west to Washington. I think I got all 12 in there. That was it. We're trying to do the whole tour, but we're touring basically the whole country this week on Tuesday. I mean, we've got just, you know what it feels like with all these games? It's like separation week.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like it's like our first separation week? Like I think about Indiana, Iowa, and even Bama, Georgia, and I go, that's the jockeying right there when you talk about these conference standings in this playoff race. We've got a loaded. I don't think we've ever, not just this year, I don't think we've ever done 12 games.
Yeah.
This is just a ridiculous slate we have going into week 5.
You should be glued to your couch on Friday or Saturday. If you're invited to Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco's wedding on Saturday, September 27th, say you're not going to it because you need to be watching college football in week 5. That's how loaded of a slate that we have in week 5 of college football. We cannot wait to get to that week 5 preview show. It is a loaded one with 12 games, and all of them are absolutely massive ones as well. But big thanks to you guys for watching this week 4 grade release show. If you want to be a sponsor of PFF, reach out to our sales team at sales@pff.com. Big shout out to the data team too. Big shout out to producers back there, and producer Quinn, producer Eli, and producer Tyler. For Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the biggest preview show of the year so far. 12 games in what should be a loaded week 5 of college football.